YouTube, it's Brian Phillips, the Hawker Hunter here by Dynam, 70mm 6S. Yes, you heard that right. 70mm. We're gonna hopefully see this thing fly very well. We're set up with a Spectrum receiver, got an AR-636B in there, and we're gonna put the gear down. Beautiful flaps on there, and some beautiful scale nav lights. Let's go ahead and see if we can taxi this thing here. Oh, she's got some power. Okay, so just to be clear, we got a little bit of wind coming from left to right. It's very light as the sun has gone down. Man, that thing taxis nicely. I think it's going to be kind of scary to fly. Here we go. Oh, we're so far so good. I thought it was going to be like a speed demon.
I know. I'm really surprised.
Okay, here we go. It's being nice. A little bit of roll there. Okay. A little bit of roll. Taken out with trim. Oh, we have... Okay, gear going up. Sorry, folks. Kind of fighting a little bit of roll issue there. Feeling a little bit better now. About 50% throttle here. A little bit of rudder. Oh, that thing looks good.
Yeah.
Oh, the LEDs are visible from here. Okay, full up elevator. You hear the beeping?
Yep.
I'm just gonna have to disregard it, unfortunately, because there's no way that that thing is dead already. This is a Gen 1 3200 6S. By the way, it's flying pretty good right now.
Yeah, that's really good.
Got good vertical. Wouldn't say it's unlimited. Sounds cool. So the AR-636B does come equipped with safe select in this case out of the plane that we crashed. So here's safe. Hands off. Okay. Out of safe. Back to me flying. I do feel like I got to be on the sticks pretty hard on this one. It's pretty much a handful. It's fast. Got a lot of throws on the elevator. I could drop the rates and be better. I might do that now. Let's see how it looks now. There we go. Oh yeah. Sounds good. That LED is bright.
Yeah, it is. I can see it on camera really good.
All right, let's try slowing it down here for a pass, and then we're probably gonna have to be nice and take a landing. Okay, so take off flaps here. Ooh, good. No ballooning, no nothing. Oh, that is landing flaps. Out of the flaps altogether. You know what, guys? I apologize. I've been flying this whole time with my takeoff flaps, and I didn't even realize this. I'm embarrassed. Sorry, Dynam. It's a little faster now, which is to be expected. Pass here. You good? Good roll rate, not anything insane. One of those directions.
Okay.
Pick off flaps, landing flaps, gear coming down. Seeing how it's going to relax. Probably not very good. It's fast.
Yep.
There's a lot of throttle there to get out of it, out of the flaps. Okay, so just to be clear, the flaps are somewhat effective at adding drag. They don't seem to really slow down. They don't seem to slow down the rate of descent much, and they don't seem to reduce the stall speed very much. Okay, full landing flaps and gear coming out. I think the biggest thing that's happening is we are, of course, losing some airspeed, which is helpful. Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't know if those gear broke off yet. Out of the flaps, out of the gear. Camera crew, I need you kind of up by where I am. Thank you. What's up? That's not. You're going wrong. Take off flaps, landing flaps. I want you on my right. On my right. My right. Okay, we'll pause. Okay, so that went better than expected. I can't believe how sturdy those landing gear really are. That was a really bad landing on my part. I hit the landing strip early and I hit it often. So just to be clear, the gear do retract, but they're all bent. That's not a Dynam problem. That was a me problem. So now I need to straighten the bogies, but otherwise I think it should be okay in terms of flying. Now, a couple things I learned when I was flying this plane. One, it's very weird flying, okay? It has plenty of power and it gets from here to there quickly. It has some of the tendencies of almost like a sluggish servo. And I noticed that when I was doing my roll trim, I almost felt like it would go a little bit and then it would stick, which is weird. And I don't know how to explain that phenomena. That is just something that I noticed on other Dynam planes that seemed to be kind of symptomatic of Dynam planes. But I was using their receivers and their transmitters. This time I'm using Spectrum. So I didn't expect to experience that. I'm using Spectrum receiver, I'm using Spectrum transmitter. So that being said, now the gains and everything are set for the plane that we had this in before. So it could be that the gains are a little bit too high or a little bit too low. So if you see a little bit of wiggling, I don't actually attribute that at all to the plane. That's just the setup in the AR636B. That can be adjusted. That being said, I don't think I'm gonna adjust it, but it's not super windy out here. You can see the windsock over here. We got a little bit of breeze coming from left to right. So that would have actually helped us a lot on landing. The flaps I found to be somewhat anemic. They didn't really make a big impact. That being said, that's a split flap thing. If this is scale on the plane, then that's what I would want. If that's what came on this plane in real life, that's what I want to see. Okay, the cheater here, they sound really nice. It almost acts like maybe it needs more cheaters because it's sucking air like crazy. And I feel like for having a 6S power system on an 80 amp ESC, it feels like it's really surprisingly anemic. Now it will spin up and it will go fast. And then also, full disclosure, I have my takeoff flaps on takeoff and then for about first half of the flight. So the other thing too is I didn't pay close attention to when we actually put down, but I know it was before my timer went off because I was just feeling like, you know what, maybe this thing is getting a little bit pissed off at me. And so I put it down. Now I don't see like any significant puffing here. I did notice that our beeper was buzzing pretty much the whole flight, which is annoying. So I'm assuming that this either got bumped or we have it set too high. Sometimes I set them to 3.3 volts DC per cell, and then that seems to serve us well on prop driven planes. But on jets or EDFs, we usually like to set them to about 3.6 volts so that we have ample time to get to the ground. Okay, so just to be clear, 3.68, this is at rest, by the way, and it's been resting for a few seconds here. Okay, so I'm thinking what's going on is that we probably just have a deviation in this, and not so much necessarily in the cells of the smart pack at this point. That being said, this pack is pretty well spent. I would say that it's about where it needs to be to go into storage voltage. So I'm not dissatisfied with the performance of the pack. I'm not dissatisfied with the performance of the plane. I'm a little bit bummed at myself because I kind of got a bad landing. This is a really fast plane. I knew it was going to be fast. I didn't know exactly how fast, and we kind of showed that tonight. I'm really actually quite impressed with the Retracts because knowing Dynam, they don't typically have a great record for great retracts. The retracts on this plane were pretty good. They should have broke off, all three of them, to be honest. I landed in grass. It was not a nice landing. And you have good turning authority. Like, that's surprisingly good. And they're still bent, guys. I'm in grass. I mean, that doesn't look good. I'm not going to tempt fate. But, I mean, honestly, I want to fly it more, but I don't want to break something right now because I'd like to see it in the air a few more times. It sounds good. It's really cool. I love the way it looks in the air. When it's doing those high-speed passes, it's very cool.
The lights are really bright.
Very bright.
On the ground right now.
Only red and green, and they are very directional, but they're very bright. So like right there, very bright. But right there, you can make them out good, okay? But then there's dead spots, like back here. There's kind of a dead spot where the wing blocks the light, okay? I'd like to be able to see that light from 360 degrees. Now, I realize that's impossible because you've got a wing somewhere, right? But I'd like to be able to see it going forward and going backward so I can tell when right is red returning or red is right returning, okay? So it's returning to us, so the red is on the right, okay? So that's a trick for you to help you to remember that. The thing looks really nice. It performs better than expected on basically gliding. It does really good gliding. It rolled a little bit less fast than I expected with as much deflection as we have on those ailerons. I feel like maybe they're a little bit in the wash of the plane, and there's no prop to push any air over them, of course. So you got to be moving pretty quick, but I don't know. There's something about where the air is hitting that the ailerons don't seem to be very effective. And yet we have good clearance. We have good deflection. There's a lot of deflection there. The elevators, yeah, plenty of elevator throw. I actually went into my top expo setting, meaning that I have the most expo. I've softened the sticks and I drop everything down to 90% on rates instead of 100%. I normally start off on the middle setting of expo, which is like 20 for elevator, rudder, and ailerons. And then of course at 100% rates. Well, on the top setting, on the most setting, then I turn that around so that I have 90% rates and then 30% expo on all three axes. The safe select did work on this plane. It wasn't anything fantastic to write home about. I typically, if you're needing safe, you're probably not going to be flying this plane, to be perfectly honest. But it sure looks good on the ground. It looks good in the sky. It's definitely not the best flying jet I've ever flown in my life, but it's not a bad flying jet. I still feel like there's room for improvement, but the improvement comes more from like, where are you going to put the receiver? Not so much from the flight characteristics, because I feel like if you had a little bit more flexibility on getting the battery in and getting the battery out and things like this, you would have a better experience overall. When you have a jet and it's this hard to get the battery loaded, it tends to kind of ruin the experience because you're going to fight it so much. See, look at this. That thing is in there tight, which is good because it doesn't move, right? Well, it's bad because look, my strap is so big I had to add a piece of Velcro. No big deal. That's not, I mean, that in and of itself is no big deal. I like the fact that it can't move. I don't like the fact that I had to take some counterweight out of the tail and move it to the nose. And yet I still have my CG, instead of being here, I'm back here. Meaning that really it's flying tail heavy still, okay? I'd like this plane to fly nose heavy on, you know, on our maiden flight. Like I rammed that thing way up here. I mean, if you rammed it up here, you get even better. But the thing is, I push that lead weight all the way up in here so that it's hidden and it doesn't cause any other idiosyncrasies. One thing too, you could add more weight and you could flip this thing over and you could stick it in here, but you have to make sure to leave room for your wheel, okay? So this play, by the way, it's not broken, it's just bent, okay? So I can bend that super easy, and I'm gonna go inside and bend it in about 5 minutes. This thing's gonna be brand new. So these bent, they would close all the way except that they're bent back about 3 degrees, okay? I don't blame Dynam for that, I blame me for that, because when I came in, I was distracted. So that being said, it's a nice plane. Is it the best jet you could ever get? Probably not. Is it gonna burn through a lot of juice really quick? Yes. You need to get high quality batteries for this thing. If you get crappy batteries, they are gonna puff so bad that this thing will be opened without you opening it, okay? I'm just warning you, you're gonna want good lipos for this plane. It is gonna suck juice like crazy. I don't know why some EDFs are so much worse at sucking power than others. It's gotta be something about the efficiency of the fan. But the thing is, what I'm telling you is put a good battery in here. And we got a good battery in here. I'd almost say a Gen 2 would be a better option in here because they are more capable of self-balancing as you're flying. Also, using the AR636B might have been a bit of a miss on my part unless you use a battery telemetry warning, because it would be really nice to have the telemetry on the cells if you could get it. So if you go with an Avian ESC, you could do that. I think it's a little bit overkill, but if you just went with like an AR637 or 637T, then you could actually get your pack voltage at least. That'd be nice. I'd like to see that. So right now with the AR636, which by the way, you guys haven't seen that yet. If you stick around for the build and radio setup, then you can see that. And I'll show you right now. We had to put the receiver in a goofy spot, guys. Look at this. See where it is? We added a new subfloor here so that we could actually set the battery up on top of it. And then look at this. We're going through, all that juice is going through an XT60, which is just really kind of crazy, to be honest. This really needs to be a bigger connector in a 6S configuration. Now 4S, no problem. 6S, you're really kind of pushing your luck there, because if you melt that solder, your plane goes kaboom. You know, it's gone. You're gonna lose control of it. You're not just gonna lose power. You know, you're gonna lose complete control of it. So, and then also, as you can see, 32, it's been pushed pretty hard. I think that pushed it pretty hard on that flight. So, all in all, is it a bad plane? No. Is it the best plane? No. Is it somewhere in between? Yes. Is it a beautiful plane in the air? Yeah, it's really pretty sweet looking. Is it a fun jet? Is it something that I would buy again having flown it? I don't know. I don't know if I would do that, because the thing is, I've flown other jets that fly a lot better. That being said, if you like this plane, if you like the RAF, if you're, Royal Air Force, then this is the plane for you, because it's one of the only places you can find this Hawker Hunter. So again, we come back to Dynam does a lot of things really okay, and then they do a lot of things not so okay. So if this is the plane you want, you can make this plane even better if you spend a little bit of time and effort that we usually kind of skip over intentionally, because we want to show them out of box kind of similar performance. And we couldn't even do that because we had to use an adapter. I mean, we could solder on an, whatever end we have. That's not really critical here. But the truth of the matter is, as stock as we could make it, we use the counterweight from the plane to counterweight the plane. So I don't know how much more stock you can get. The other thing is, if you're using the Dynam receiver and you're using the DT9, make sure you're getting one that you can turn stabilization on and off. You may want to be able to adjust the gains at least. And so having that extra channel does really help. So in our case, we have the ability to turn safe on and off, but we don't really have the ability to turn off the AS3X or to change the gains. Now on the AR637TA, or excuse me, on the AR637T, you could adjust the gains. So you could turn down your master gain and you would get a little bit better response on high speed passes where we were seeing the oscillation and a little bit of yaw oscillation too. That's not good for flight performance, and that definitely falls back on my pick for receiver and not on the plane from Dynam's perspective. So hopefully this information helps you to make an informed decision. It is a really cool plane, guys. The thing I really kind of like about this plane, and I haven't touched on it much, but there's something about having a plane that you can pick up. And you can pick it up, and you don't have to worry about like, hey, I'm gonna knock off 17 antennas by doing that, okay? We have reviewed a lot of really cool planes lately, and believe me, I'm a sucker for the scale details like you are. Just, we're the same in that sense. But here's the thing. It's nice to have a plane that you can throw in the back of the car and you can drive to the flying field. You don't have to be like saying prayers the whole time, like, please don't break, please don't break. If this thing is tough as it was on that landing, that was a bad landing, okay? It was a bad landing, and then I had a bad touch and go. Really, 2 bad landings, almost inexcusable, and we had the wind helping us no less. So anyway, I feel bad about that, but here's the thing. You get a plane that you can throw in the back of the car and just have fun with. It makes up for a lot of different issues, okay? The other thing too is if you have a 3300 6S, good luck fitting it in here, because I could barely get a 3200 6S, and that's a smart pack. The smart packs tend to be, between 10 to 15% smaller than their non-smart peers. So you need to keep that in mind, and that's not carved, that's carved out and put in so that we had a place to put the receiver. So the minimum depth of the receiver, and you see all these wires, they're pushed tight. There's kind of this little triangle back here, okay? And all that's holding that thing on, see, we had to take out from the top too, okay? Although, I must say, it did fit really nice once we got everything done.
We didn't lose the canopy.
And you aren't putting a 4,000 in there.
No.
Because that was my thought. Let's put in a bigger pack, see if we can get a little bit more juice out of the thing before it starts getting pissed off at life. You put a bigger battery in an EDF, okay, higher milliamp hour capacity. It's not that you're gonna get a longer flight time because you're heavier. You're gonna consume more juice to stay airborne. But the thing is, you're gonna consume it and you can consume more of it like all at once. So the higher C pack is helpful, but really I found that the higher milliamp hours, it's tough. You don't always get the longer flight that you expect, but sometimes you don't puff them quite as quick either. So that sounds a little counterintuitive, I know, but it's true in my experience. Overall, pretty strong plane. I did not fly with ordnance. Yes, it does come with ordnance. It's got like drop tanks and then what looks like more drop tanks. I'm not really sure if they're like torpedoes or what they are, but they certainly aren't missiles. So they look like drop tanks that look like submarines. So I would not want to fly with a bunch of drop tanks on this. Historically, I don't know what they are, so please don't kill me in the comments for that, people. I would like to know everything about everything, but I don't. I'm still learning a lot. And I learn a lot from the comments. So if you have a comment, leave it in the comments below, and we will try to reply to them like we always have. We try to be faithful to you guys, our audience, a wonderful audience on YouTube. We put a lot of effort into this channel, as you know, but we wouldn't have the channel if you guys weren't watching it. So we ask you, come back for more. Check the link for this product in the description. When you buy it from that description link, then you'll be helping to support us financially with small commissions. You'll also be helping to support us with the vendors that send us these planes so that we can bring them to you on YouTube. Now, here's the thing. You got to keep in mind, if I give a review like this on this often enough, and they're not wonderful reviews, you have to understand that at some point they're going to say, nope, not that guy. But here's the thing. I value the truth about these planes more than I value one particular brand over another particular brand. We have always been totally straightforward with you guys, straight up. We don't ever sugarcoat stuff. We might say the positive side of things, but we're being totally honest with you. If we have a bad experience, you're gonna see a bad experience. If we have a great experience, you're gonna see a great experience. And sometimes that gets questions. I don't know why. I mean, if you guys have seen any of our footage, you should know I crash all the time. I crashed into a tree here. I crashed into that tree there. I crashed over there. I crashed into the house. I've crashed into my power lines. I've crashed into myself. I crashed into my wife. I crashed into the kids. I don't know what else you want me to do to prove that I'm being authentic. So the truth is, these planes have ups and downs. And a big part of the ups and a big part of the downs come with the dollars and cents. So if you have less budget, these planes are awesome, and they're as awesome as you're gonna get until your budget gets bigger. When you get a bigger budget, you're gonna have more awesome planes. Okay, is that fair enough?
Yeah.
All right, so without further ado, if you like the plane, even a little bit, go down to the description, click the description, see if you like it after you see the price, and then buy one. If you do, you'll be giving us a pat on the back, but mostly give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell for notifications. We would really appreciate to see you back. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look what we've got here. We got a box. We're gonna open it right now. We're excited to bring you this one. We're sure it's gonna be super smooth and no problems at all.
The tape begs to differ.
My camera crew is making snide remarks already.
That's okay, they can't hear me now.
Okay, guys. Dynam. Hawker Hunter. Oh. Yes, it's very brightly colored. There's lots of explosions to simulate reality. So we will see how this works, guys. This is one of the newer Dynams. So my hope is one of the newer Dynams might have some of the newer solutions to the problems that we've had in the past. I'm very excited to see this one. This is a pretty cool one.
It should have been called the poisonous toad. That's what it looks like.
Okay, so I got some paperwork here. Looks like we had, it just says what they sent. There might be some extra propellers in one of these boxes.
Oh.
So there's like a packing list in there. If you see a bunch of propellers, just look the other way for a moment. All right, here we go, guys. We're not gonna waste any time. We never do that.
No, never.
This is an EPO foam plane, ages 14 plus, 6-channel. It's designed for outdoor.
Oh.
Yeah.
No,
Woo,
just don't
that
even
was a big
put
question.
it together.
And flight time is 5 minutes. So we'll see. If it's 5 minutes, that's pretty good for an EDF jet. This is an EDF jet, by the way. Oh, yeah, we have some extra props in here. And the props are for an unrelated project. So we'll put those off to the side. And just make sure there's nothing else in there. Yep, there's nothing else in there that I can see. Just got some foam. This is a different packaging system than they normally have on Dynam planes. Now also, I'm not 100% certain if this is plug and fly or if it is going to be a bind and fly. If it's bind and fly, then we have the Dynam receiver. We'll probably end up using that DT9. And if it's plug and fly, then we have some other plans, but we'll wait and talk about that later. So this says R. So right wing, I'm assuming, something like that. I'm actually really hopeful for this because we have evidently picked some of the, ooh, that looks nice. I like the high contrast in colors.
Yeah,
LEDs.
It's gonna film good.
That's good. Flaps. Plastic. Wow. Oh, it's a split flap. Cool. And then a retract. I am not familiar with the Hawker Hunter. Guys, it is obviously it's an RAF plane, so it's a Royal Air Force. And I wasn't even aware of this until I saw it come out from Dynam. And it just looks really cool. It's got this tiger print to it, which is really neat. I don't know if they're trying to blend in with like a zoo or what's the deal. You never know. Okay, so that's the right wing. This must be the left wing. And just so you can see, Dynam does a really nice job on packaging. Sometimes you get them and you think, there's no way that thing is going to be undamaged. And then you open it up and it's like perfect.
Yeah.
We have seen, I think we had one plane that maybe had a couple of dings on it, but it was real minor. But we've had pretty good luck with the packaging. They do use a lot less foam, and some people are into that. I actually kind of don't really care, just as long as it gets to me in one piece. Okay, as suspected. So that's the other wing. Everything looks good. These do look like higher quality retracts, which is good. Nice tight fit, but the last time we saw that, there is some ordnance pockets here, which is pretty cool. So it looks like there's gonna be some ordnance going on here. Those big bombs, it looks like. That's pretty sweet. I probably, you know, ordnance is like whoa. Look at that.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's a red and a black, and then 3 signal lines. Oh yeah, LED, Servo 1, Servo 2, retract, and then power. That's pretty cool to have a distribution like that.
Yeah.
This seems like it's well built too, because I mean, you guys can't see it necessarily, but it's got a little bit of flex to it, but it's not a very long wing. So once you get that hooked up with your joiner rods, then maybe it'll be nice and stiff, which is something that we have not experienced a lot on Dynam planes. They are usually pretty soft on the wings, and it just doesn't really matter which one we're talking about. They've all had a little bit of flex in the wing. Okay, the canopy is off this plane. I don't know if that's supposed to be like that, or if that's just like a popped off in transit sort of thing.
But the canopy is on the...
Oh, I don't even have to glue the canopy.
Oh.
I'm so happy. Look, magnets. It's actually really nice fit and finish on this. Dynam wise, it's very good.
It's the girly pilot, which we kind of like.
You know, I kind of like the girly pilot.
Yeah,
I think
she's pretty.
You know, yeah, she's pretty. She's not like weird, like
She's
bug eyed.
like the right size.
You know, look like the guy from the Goonies that wants the
Chunk.
What's his name? Chunk.
Yeah.
What does he say? Butterfinger? No, it's not Butterfinger.
What is
It's Baby Ruth.
Yes.
Baby Ruth. Okay, I don't know what these are, but
Are they anything?
yeah, there's something in there. Okay, one of them said R. Oh, cool. Okay, so that is the horizontal stabilizer. It's weird, there's like a keying system on it too. See? Not sure how that's gonna work, but let's go ahead and cut it open.
Those poly bags do a pretty good job of
They're
protecting
thick.
things. Yeah.
Look, they're thick. I mean, they're like, you can barely get them to rip. So, I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword though, because they are actually quite strong. So don't try to rip them with your components still in there, because you will break it in half. So guys, we don't want to make a thing of this, but we do want to mention to you that we have been trying to work through a bit of an audio issue. And you may have noticed the last few videos, we had issues with the audio. And so I'm not wearing a lav mic, but we do have an alternative. So those of you that were screaming lav mics for like a year and a half or 2 years, don't worry, you're still being heard.
And
Pun intended.
We didn't change anything.
We didn't change
It just,
anything.
like,
It just
stopped
started
working.
Yeah, it started doing some weird noises and different things. And we had a couple of different people that suggested it might be electronics in the area, and I just really highly doubt that. Ball joints.
Nice.
Is this the Dynam?
I'm confused.
What the heck is going on here? This is weird. Everything seems nice and heavy duty too. That's 9-gram servos per elevator. Okay, so that's everything in there. There was a screwdriver, one glue tube, and
That's like the smallest Dynam nutsack I've ever seen.
Hey, nut and bolt sack. Nut and bolt sack.
There's no nuts in there.
There's no nuts?
No. Oh.
Let's go over here and show them.
Okay.
Okay, so we got some decals here.
Oh. Interesting.
Can you read that for me? Siege ejectable.
Danger.
Is
I
that
can
what it
read
is?
that one.
Danger. There you go. They had to cover their bases, right?
Yeah.
This is powered by Tomcat, evidently, whatever that is. Okay. Staffel. I have no idea what that
These
says.
white ones.
Oris.
Cool.
Swiss watch. Okay. Okay, so here it is. Yeah. Shows you where some of them go. That's good, because
Good start.
I would have no clue otherwise. Skylord 80 amp ESC. Looks like they're showing a Dean's connector here, but I really doubt that's a Dean's connector. 22.2 volts. Really? 6S?
Really?
Hold on. Did I do my math right? That's 22.2 volts. Yeah, that would be a 6S. 22.2 volts.
Nice.
What size do they suggest?
3300.
3300.
30C.
3300, 30C?
Yep.
Okay, so I have 3300 and I have 4000. I think I'm gonna probably go with this, but we do have 3300 6S as well. So if we have 3200 and we have 4000, we'll go ahead and prep those for our flight when we're ready. So turn on the charger, plug in the Gen 2 pack. This one's probably already charged. Yeah, it looks like it's probably already charged. Get the other one going. Turn on the other charger, and then we'll scooch over there. We'll get this one started now. This one has a balance lead, but you don't have to use a balance lead. Okay. Okay, so that one's going. Okay, so that's 3200 6S. Do we have another 3200? I'm just looking here. I don't think we have another 3200 in a 6S. So we'll have a 3200, a 4000 Gen 2, and a 4000 Gen 2. This is Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 2, and then we have a couple more Gen 1. So these ones are done. Okay, good deal.
Good.
So when we're ready to fly, we'll be ready to fly. I always like to do that when I'm getting a plane put together. This one, I just have a good feeling about it. We've had some trouble with the last few Dynams, whether it be retracts or just difficult assembly. And so I'm hopeful that this one's gonna go
Our
just
last
swimmingly.
one, the assembly was pretty decent.
The assembly was awesome, and then the retracts worked like crap.
Yeah.
And it was the FW 190.
Yeah.
And everybody thought from the thumbnail that it was the same as the Horizon one, but it wasn't because it was so pretty. Okay, here's the ordnance. That looks nice. Okay. They look like drop tanks, actually. Not bombs. Look like drop tanks. There's something about ordnance. When you get a lot of planes, there's a lot of ordnance that goes with a lot of planes.
Yeah.
Okay, look at the finish on that. Looks like it cracked a lot around the edge. It looks like a submarine.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so we got those. There's 2 of those, but I think there's 2 more as well, and those are bombs.
Oh.
Those might also be drop tanks, but they also look like submarines. What the heck is going on around here? Again, RAF, I don't know how scale that is because it's not my thing. But it does look really cool as a submarine, so.
Well, and you don't usually fly with ordnance.
You know,
anyway, so.
I do sometimes.
Yeah.
And then a joiner rod that is quite stiff and very thick sidewalled.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's carbon fiber or fiberglass. It's kind of hard to tell. I think from the thickness, it's probably fiberglass. If you ever want to tell the difference between fiberglass and carbon fiber, just rub it like this for about 20 minutes and let me know. Just kidding, don't do that.
That's terrible advice.
It would be horrible. It would hurt a lot. And you'd be itchy for like 6 or 7 years. And both of them would suck, actually. All right, so we're down to the fuse, and I want to just show the people how this is packed. It's a little bit of a different packaging job, so I'm not 100% sure the best way to take this out. Okay, so it looks like you can just lift the whole thing out. It's actually really cool looking. It's weird, but it's cool looking.
Giant salamander.
What now?
Looks like a giant salamander.
It is a giant salamander. Look at that. This thing is gonna
Weird.
slither through the air beautifully. One thing I do like is when there is a long thrust tube.
Oh, well.
That is pretty cool. And if you're gonna thrust it, you might as well have it nice and long.
Yeah. True.
Hey, also, I just want to point out a couple of things here real quick. Look at the serviceability on this model. That is so strange. And ball joints. What is this a Dynam?
Really.
I don't understand. So there's 4 screws. You can actually unplug the servo if you'd have a problem. Okay, so then we have our connectors here for the wings. This could actually be an easy build. What the heck? Look at that. Look.
What?
Look through here. Look through here.
Hold on.
There's an inlet.
Cool.
And then look, another inlet.
Cool.
Okay, so exciting stuff. That was what I believe to be the last of the components in this box. It's just foam now.
So the ESC is already installed? in there
Everything is
somewhere?
installed with the exception of the receiver. This is a plug and play plane. Yeah, I know, that's what I was thinking too. So without further ado,
Yeah, cool.
our next step is going to be the build. So for now, we are going to pause and get our plane stand ready, and we'll come right back. All right, YouTube, we're here for the build on the Hawker Hunter, which is the Dynam Experience Level 3 plane.
Okay.
Exactly. So we're going to build it now. And the weird thing is, look at the piece count on this. This is a Dynam here, okay? Just to be totally full, clear, and everything. I still don't exactly know if maybe we've opened the wrong manufacturer here, because it seems way too put together for a Dynam. Usually you have to do a lot of assembly on Dynams. And usually some of the steps are a little bit ambiguous. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, so far this is very not ambiguous. So, again, are we supposed to glue these? I don't know, there's screws
the only
involved.
glue says for the tail spar.
Oh, you have to glue the spar in?
That's what it says.
Why would
All
you-
things to glue. I know.
Glue the tail spar, that's bizarre.
Never.
Look, these wings are such a weird shape.
They are.
Okay, so this is keyed, so it only goes one way. Okay, so it's pretty hard to reach. So, I don't know exactly how you're gonna get that in there. This is definitely not set up for somebody with big hands. Okay, I just want to make sure that's connected. This will be a lot easier to fix now than later. Okay, so that's in there. Actually, really nice connection. Well, I heard something, somewhat of a snap. I don't know what the snap was. Okay, so there's 4 screw holes.
That's
Okay.
somewhat disconcerting.
Yeah, the popping noise.
No, because there's only 4.
There's 2 on this side, Kimker. There's 2 on this side.
I know, there's
so
only
long
4
screw.
screws total.
I understand. There's 2 and then 2. Right?
How do you attach the horizontal sail?
Well, I don't know. Maybe you glue it.
Maybe.
So did you look? Is there a short one here and a long one there?
There's
A short one here and a long one there? It's got to be the way it is. I have to.
It just says fix the 2 screws for the wings.
Okay, so the two, those 2. Got it. Come on. Okay, so it's not wanting to start. We've played this game before. Wait. I feel like it might be, maybe, possibly. Nope, it's not. We'll try this one first. See if the front one gets us lined up. Actually, honestly, I'm not sure if the long ones are more appropriate or less appropriate.
I don't know.
There's a lot of play in there. So it's hard to tell if you've actually got the tip stuck in the hole.
You look a little crooked.
I know. That's, I feel almost like how can there be that much play on it, you know? Like, why is there so much play? Oh, just drop down. Just drop down and I'm biting for sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, baby. It's going great now. Totally got it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so I just wiggled it and then eventually it dropped. Once it dropped, then we were golden. My only concern is if this is supposed to actually be the other screw. Oh, I'm holding it up. See what I did? I just grabbed it with my middle finger and I'm pushing up on that. Kind of having to wrangle it into position though. Oh, look.
Did you go through? Oh.
No, push the thing out.
Oh.
Which is fine. I don't really care if it pushes the thing out. It's just a nut. That's just glued in there lightly, but now I know for sure I'm hitting it. So now I can just not wanting to bite though. Once I get this thing to position in there, the tip into the crack, then I should be able to get it started. Here, let's pop this whole thing out and look from the other side.
Okay.
I'm holding my finger over the screw hole so it doesn't fall out. Screw's falling out. Okay, so let's look at that together. So this is what I'm trying to align. And you can see I'm just barely off. See that little detent there? That's where it's trying to hit. And so I just got to get the line up straight. So, see if I pull this in really tight. See how it aligns a little bit better?
Oh, yeah.
I got to push that really. Show them what I'm doing. You guys show them here. See how I'm pushing real hard? That gets it into alignment. And then this thing popped out. I really don't even care if there's glue on it. I just need that to pull down when I tighten it. So it just makes it a little bit awkward to put the screw in the meantime. Okay, so.
I'm not sure I can help her.
Yeah, I don't think you can either. Oh, come on now. I have to be able to push down on here.
Here, I can.
You push down here. Okay. You know what? I'm just going to come over here with it and just line it up. Yep, got it lined up.
You may let go or keep holding.
Just keep doing what you're doing. Okay, now you can let go. I got it.
Okay.
Good job, camera crew. Okay, so that's tight, and it's definitely on there. There's no question about it. Now, if you guys are going to be taking the wings off for transportation, which, by the way, I would tell you, it's not very big.
No, it's not.
It's not going to be a very big plane. If you do take one off, make sure you re-glue that if it pops out on you, because you don't want to be fighting that at the flight field. Okay, so now we're going to do the other wing. It probably said to put the tail on first, but...
No, actually it did say the wings.
Oh, it did? Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. I guess right. And then show them that little adapter there real quick.
Oh, yep, right here.
So we're going to need an adapter because this thing flies on 6S. And all my 6S packs, I don't have a single 6S pack that's set up for an XT60.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking about on that, but XT60 is, you know, if you're running a 6S pack, you could produce a pretty good amount of power and a pretty much, it could potentially melt that. So I'm just gonna throw a caution to the wind. I don't think it's gonna be a big issue. I believe the XT60 can handle 60 amps of current, but you know, my understanding is if they're built right, they'll handle the current just fine. They won't overheat and melt. But if you guys are in any doubt, then just make the decision that you feel is best. I'm just gonna use an adapter because, you know, what do I have to lose? We got an XT60, excuse me, that'll go to the IC3 and then the IC5 female, or well, the IC5 connector device is what they call that because it's on the device side instead of battery side. The battery side I would typically describe as a male, but it's kind of not the best way to do it because some of these connectors have a male side and a female side in combination. So this housing is female and that is a pin, so that would be male.
Right.
But then the smart connection is a socket, so that would be female. So you can't really say male or female. It's way too confusing these days. So anyway, if you want to watch with me here, we've got a gap here. So this gap here, we'll just go ahead and try to push this through. Yeah, we pushed it through. That went pretty good that time. That was way easier. I don't know why. I didn't really do anything that different. Okay, just go until it's tight. And then kind of hoping this one goes easier because that was a pain on the other wing. Oh, it's going. That was way easier.
Yeah.
See how it's pulling the whole wing toward me as I tighten? You can watch around here. It's pulling the wing tight into this. Very cool. Look at the hinge mechanism on the split flaps. That's cool. See that? Mm-hmm. And then it's got this neat shape to it. That's really cool. I like scale details like that. That really gets me excited for a plane. All right, so we got the carbon fiber spar in, or at least the wing joiner. Whether it's carbon fiber is yet to be determined. Also take note of this. The nose gear comes down and toward the back, okay? These come out neutrally. So that means your CG is gonna shift back very slightly when the nose gear goes down. Okay, shouldn't be a huge factor, but just keep it in mind. When you're testing your CG, unless the manual specifically outlines doing it with the gear up, you wanna do it with the gear down, and that way you don't have that deviation. Also, I noticed that my wingtips are a little bit bumped up from the packaging. So again, not a huge issue. It kind of meets the fit and finish on this is definitely, you know, it's okay. It's not amazing. There's some gapping here, but to be honest, like on this echelon of plane, I expect to see things like that. It fits the price point. So I'm not upset about it. It's not a big deal. This is the 6S plane and it's relatively affordable. So I'm not trying to beat them up on that. Okay, so this joiner goes here and it slides through. Now you'll notice it can just slide through independently. That's not a big deal. I'm not really worried about that, but they were suggesting gluing that. I don't know why. It's gonna be trapped between these two. Let's just see if it is. Okay, so when it goes in here, okay, it's gonna go in straight, okay? It bottoms out, okay? Right. So it's not like it's gonna slide through. You won't lose it, it's trapped, okay? That's cool that they both have that sweep to them. So I'm not gonna glue that. That's dumb. I'm not gluing that. So now my camera crew was doing the smart thing and reading the instructions when we were paused. So we'll spin the plane around so you can see this. And we're gonna go so that you can be right here and then not be up against the window. So
okay.
We're gonna do it so you can be here.
Okay.
Because we have to open up that cabinet there, and then that's gonna allow us to get our wires landed. So I was saying, look at the serviceability, how great they did. Well, you actually have to do this to put it together in the first place. Okay. So I'm all of a sudden getting quite nervous about that because it looks like there's a whole lot of wire going on inside of this hole. I don't know. I'm trying not to jinx this because so far this has been like a phenomenal experience for a Dynam.
The screws were already in there.
They were.
So
we didn't have to.
It's been landed once.
Oh yeah.
Which makes me feel better about.
I'm actually not worried about these screws. I'm worried about the number of wires inside of here. Because I can just imagine an explosion of wires here in about.
We're gonna find out.
Whoa.
Ooh.
There's a lead weight in there too.
Oh goodness.
Well, look at that.
That's
wow.
interesting.
That's a lot of dead weight.
Why?
Because you need that to CG the plane.
It's so weird.
It's not weird. They do that in like almost every plane we have.
Oh.
You just don't realize it.
See it?
Because most of the manufacturers would not have it so that it's accessible. But that being said, that's nice because if you need to take it out, you can take it out. Okay, so it wasn't full of wire, it was full of lead. Okay, so it looks like there's kind of a socket here. That's where your wires are gonna pass down from the stabilizers, okay? So this one's obviously going here, right? So don't think it matters which one goes to which because it is a Y cable. So now if it's a Y cable, that means that both servos are gonna actuate in the same direction unless they mount the servos the same direction, which they did. You see how they're both mounted the same direction?
Oh, right.
Yeah, so irregardless of which wing they're on, they will actuate the elevator in the same direction. A lot of times manufacturers will put them like this and then they'll put this one the other way and then they have to use a reverse servo on this wing. And that's not a good thing, because then when you crash and you have to order a replacement part, you have to figure out if it's reverse or standard. And then many times they're not marked well. Other times they are marked well, but it's kind of hit or miss on that in my experience. So the other thing is, if you guys aren't aware, you can reverse any standard servo. There are some weird servos out there that you can't reverse, but it's pretty few and far between. Most of them you can reverse. What you have to do is you reverse the 2 of the 3 wires on the trim pot or on the feedback potentiometer, and then you reverse the leads on the motor. So you have to desolder these and switch them, and desolder these and switch them, any of the 3. And then what happens is it actuates the motor in the opposite direction when demanded, and then it gives the feedback in the opposite direction. So then it knows it's going in the right direction, because that feedback sensor or potentiometer is how the servo knows what position the output shaft is pointed. Okay, so that's in there. That's in there. This is gonna be a little bit tricky because I gotta try to get that counterweight back in there. How the heck am I gonna do all that? Very carefully. I think I'm gonna get 2 screws started, and then we're gonna put the weight back in, and then we're gonna negotiate the wires. Okay. I mean, so far this has probably been one of the least tedious and complicated builds from Dynam yet.
Yes.
And we're doing this. So that just should give you some idea of the experience we've had. I mean, you guys have seen it. Who are we kidding? You've seen the other videos. I know some of you guys like watching us do the Dynams. I was just gonna say the same thing. Thanks. But no, what I was gonna say is, I mean, we want for the success of every manufacturer and distributor that we work with. Yeah. And Dynam is no exception. One of my first planes was a Dynam, and I loved it. It was a Turbojet 550. And it was so much fun, and I had tons of fun, and we had all sorts of problems with the Retracts. But it was a net positive experience, guys. It wasn't like I hated the plane. I had tons of problems with it, but it wasn't because of the Dynam experience. It was because I was such a new pilot, and I was trying to overcomplicate everything still.
Yes.
But we successfully overly complicated it and made it awesome.
We don't want to sugarcoat things and tell you that it's not a big deal, and then you get a plane and you're super frustrated.
And by the way, the reason that the more experienced pilots, and when I say more experienced, I mean more experienced than brand new, sometimes can tolerate these idiosyncrasies of the Dynam planes, is because they have experience to back them up. Like, they've done it before, so they kind of understand, oh, that's not a big deal.
Right.
Well, if you get a new pilot working on a plane that's got this weird weight in the back and it falls out, and then they're like, oh, well, I took out that weight. Yeah, you need that there, because that's gonna make the thing CG out.
Right. Put it back in, right?
Yeah, it's in there.
I'm looking from up here,
I literally just looked at it.
Okay.
But anyway, my whole point is that the Dynams carry a certain level of, you have to kind of have a clue of what's going on. And it really does help. Okay. I mean, that's true with any manufacturer, to be honest. Okay. So now my question is, you know why we have to glue?
Right. Why?
Because there's nothing holding those wings on.
Right. I was just going to say, did we talk through and miss gluing, or?
No, we didn't miss gluing. We just thought there'd be something else to trap it in there, like a clip or something.
Right.
So we do have to glue it, unfortunately, but I'm gonna have to do it with this thing installed. And it's quite awkward at this angle, so I'm gonna try to actually flip the plane.
Okay.
Well, I can say this plane is pretty easy to handle and move and stuff. It's pretty resilient to the scuffs and bumps and stuff like that. Partly because it's maybe not got a super, super high level of finish work, like up close stuff, like overspray here and things like that. But see, like I said, that doesn't really bother me on this plane. It's just, it makes sense for the echelon of plane, for the environment that the space it's filling in the market,
And that's one thing about Dynam, is they offer some planes that you can't get.
You can't get other places. Yeah, I don't know of anybody else who's making a Hawker Hunter, which is cool. And that's one of the claims to fame that has helped people to stick around with Dynam, I think, is that they make a few of the, like the B-26. Not very many people make a B-26. A lot of people make the B-25, but not the B-26. That's a cool looking plane. This is. I'm really liking it so far. Now I'm just annoyed because I have to go in there and try to manipulate wires to get these out to put glue on it all. Mm-hmm. I mean, granted, that was my decision to do that, but just kind of a little bit awkward. I think I'm gonna just try to get glue in here.
Okay.
I already have some glue open from a Dynam plane, so I'll open that one. Q-tips and all. So folks, if you're wondering, we oftentimes use the leftover Dynam glue. We've had 1 or 2 planes where we had significant surplus of glue, and then other planes where we were short. So my recommendation is if you do any Dynams, keep every last drip of Dynam glue because you're gonna need it on some other plane. Okay, so.
And this one only came with 1.
Yeah, it came with 1 too, but this is from another plane. It's same company, everything. It's just a contact adhesive. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull these apart a little bit, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this contact adhesive onto the Q-tip. Then I'm just gonna work that onto the tip there, and then onto the tip here. That's not near enough glue, by the way. So I'm just gonna get a little bit more, and we'll do this a couple of times, probably 3 or 4 times. And just kind of spreading it where you think it's gonna have a good contact area. Okay. And a little bit more glue there, a little bit more glue there. And then basically the idea is if you can get it on both surfaces, that's always preferable because it is a contact cement. So as this stuff sets up, then you can stick it together and it will be almost unremovable. But there is a trick if you ever need to remove one. You got a lot of contact adhesive there. You can use Kicker, and Kicker will break down the bond without destroying the plane. Now you'll lose paint. The paint will come off too. Okay, so we're going there just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Okay, and we just got a little bit more there. There we go, just kind of getting it all over the areas that we know it's gonna contact. And the reason, I guess, honestly, this is probably better this way anyway, because I would have had a really hard time doing this in any other fashion, to be honest. Can you imagine trying to do all that while it's like wires hanging everywhere?
Right. I think you made the right call in terms of order.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit undesirable, this method, but, you know, it's fine. If for a Dynam, I would say we're doing very good.
Yes.
We're doing very, very good. Stupendous.
I like not being attached to the camera too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that's nice.
It's helping.
Okay, so I need to scooch to this side, and what I'm gonna do is just, basically at this point, what you need to do with this glue is you have to let it set up for a few minutes. And what's gonna happen is as the glue sets up, it's gonna get super tacky. I mean, like so tacky that you could take 2 pieces of foam and rip the foam apart in your hands and be left with the joint in the middle. So, see, look at this, guys. Okay, we're not quite there, but we're getting close, okay? And I'm trying to get this wire to go down into this crack. I don't know if you guys can tell how I'm doing that there. I'm having to kind of force that in a funny angle, okay? So now you can stick that together, and then you can pull and see how it pulls those little stringies? That's usually a good sign, okay? So once that's together, then you can just kind of let that be. I think honestly, the wings, if I would have given it another 5 minutes, it probably would have been ideal, but they'll be all right, so we'll leave that. Ooh, and one tip. This is something you may or may not want to do. I like to know that things are secure, and so I will occasionally take a toothpick, and I will take a toothpick because you see how this can pull away if the glue unseats? Well, on a plane like this, what I'll do is I'll actually take and stab this in, and that's gonna make a pinch point that's gonna pull that front edge together, okay? Now, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but that's very sturdy, okay? Mm-hmm. And then same thing here. Now, if you're wanting to put glue on this first, that's fine, but just, you see how there's a gap here? Watch what happens when I do this. I'm gonna press in very hard, okay? And you see how the gap closes? And then once I pin it, that's gonna prevent that from opening back up, okay? So just give me a little bit extra mechanical advantage there, okay? And so that'll help hold that nose in for us. And then I might just leave it at that. And then the easiest way to finish that off is to take a pair of side cutters and you could just clip the tip off. Okay, so we got both those tips. Then we can take the screwdriver and just press squarely on the middle of that and just force it in so it's beyond the edge. And you won't even know it's there. Okay, so when you go to take this thing apart, you get to figure it out. Okay? And you'll never know it's there, but that'll give you one more layer of strength there on an important surface. Because if one of those fails and it like flops like this, your plane's done. It's garbage. You will crash, 100% guaranteed, unless you're still on the ground or maybe mid takeoff or something like that and you just scrape a wingtip. Okay, so first of all, it looks really cool. It's a weird shaped plane. I'm not familiar with this plane. It's definitely a different looking plane. I'm excited to see how fast it's gonna be. If it's success, it's gotta be fast.
And it's a 70mm EDF.
A 70mm EDF on 6S
It's
is
not a very big
pretty
plane.
powerful.
Yeah.
So an 80 amp BSC, it should do it. It's just a lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas. I'm gonna wait until I see it before I lose any bets over this thing, you know? So that's gonna make our lead really long. We were actually talking about that earlier, like, where's everything gonna go on this plane? Because if you wanna just look in here, by the way, there's like this A marking in here. It fell off on one of the wires. I don't really know which one, I don't think it matters because A must have been like aileron. See how this says rudder? See how this says elevator? This says R. This one says G. This one says F for flaps. Okay. So I'm actually pretty excited to put this together, but I'm a little nervous. Like, where the heck is the battery gonna end up? There's a lot going on here.
And that's a big battery.
Yeah, exactly. Because that retract goes way back here. They said 3,300, right?
Yeah.
3,300, 22.2 volts, 30C discharge. What the heck? It's a huge battery though. Well,
Because this wall here
This is ailerons.
solid, right? Yeah.
that's where the retract mechanism
So
is.
it's up to, so you can't.
It's super
nothing's
long.
Getting shoved in there.
Well, I mean, you can shove it in there if you don't mind losing your retract.
Yeah.
So this A, I'm just gonna pull this off and hopefully I can,
There's one A over there.
no, that's A. That's both the A's. Oh, maybe it came off of here. Well, I'm just gonna throw caution in the wind and mark it. Aileron. By the way, guys, it is interesting to me, as many flaws as I've found in our experience with Dynam. They do one thing very good, and that is, on a plane like this, there are flaps and retracts. It's not a question. It's just, they do. And to be honest with you, they might need them. But let's just be honest, I want flaps even if they don't need them. Because it's like if a plane can be slowed down for landing, I want to slow it down so I don't break the gear all the time. Oh man, where are we going to put the receiver? So we do not have a receiver in there, so I guess lucky you and me, we can use this receiver out of an old Horizon plane. So we're going to use the NX8 on this and this AR 636B. Okay. So I guess I'm just going to start plugging them in. This is already set up for another jet that is no longer.
Hey, wait, do we need to put the battery in first? So we
Yeah.
don't bite ourselves like we did last time?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I'm going to try the 3300 6S, or excuse me, 3200 6S.
Okay.
We're just going to see if we can even get the thing in there. Oh man, this got me nervous. Okay, so this strap, I always complain if they're not free, so let's tell you if they're free or not. It's a Detrum strap. Okay. All right, so this one is maybe free. Yeah, ooh, it is free, and it did not pull through. That scared me. So yeah, it is free. That's good. And in terms of the battery and the connections, yeah, it fits that way. Probably better if I could do it the other way. Okay, so if we stick it down here, does that work? Man, that's gonna be a tight squeeze, guys.
You're sure success is right? You did your math right?
22.2 volts.
Yep. Okay. You're better at math than me anyway.
Wow. Okay.
But well,
Where's the receiver gonna go?
It's gonna have to go back there in the crack.
Well, and that's not a bad spot for it. It's just like, okay. Then, okay, so this one came out of a plane and the antennas went forward, okay? So I guess I'm just gonna start landing stuff and hope for the best. Okay, so throttle. And I like your idea of having this in here just so we know what we're working with for space. That's probably a great idea. Okay, so on this one, the signal is up and the minus is down. Yep. So that one's on channel 1. Okay. Channel 2 is ailerons. So A for ailerons. Huge adapter here. We may not be able to tolerate that huge adapter at some point here. Okay, brown goes down. Orange goes up. Then we've got elevator. There's rudder. Rudder. Okay, elevator. I'm just trying to untangle the wires, camera crew. So that's brown goes down. Signal goes up. Signal's orange in this case. Then it's rudder is 4. Rudder is weird because it has a steerable nose gear. So there's a big Y cable goes all the way up front. Then gear is 5. So that's G for gear. Okay.
Does that one have an extension on it?
What do you mean, does it have an extension on it?
For gear? Or it's just a Y cable?
No, that's the splitter that goes back. Yeah, that's a splitter. And then there's one more for flaps, which is F. So far so good. We haven't had any missing. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if I can get this thing. How does the canopy go on? The canopy has a flat surface that mates up here, so you won't be able to put that there. The receiver could actually technically be inside of here. That would not be ideal, but you could technically mount it in there.
Right.
And like if you had a flat tray here, you could mount that flat tray there, okay? It's gonna be awkward to get to the bind plug.
You're going to have to deal with cords every single time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's gonna be awkward. Well, let's see if we can get that to work though. So without further ado, I think what I need to do now is I need to go ahead and get the radio setup started. So we'll pause and come right back. All right, YouTube, so we've got the NX8 here. We're gonna go ahead and get this set up. First thing, we'll scroll down to add new model. In my case, we already have 24, the Acro. And we're gonna go down to system setup, just like it would. Model select, Acro. We would have created a new model. Then we can do model type, just verify it's Acro. Model name, this is where we type in, and this is Hawker Hunter. So we'll scroll over to H, then we'll scroll to A, and we'll pause and come back when we're done. Okay, so we have the Hawker Hunter 850. So we'll back up. It does that weird beep sequence. Aircraft type, we want to go from normal to 1 aileron, 1 flap. And then the tail type is normal as well. And then I'm just going to scroll to the airplane and pick, I think that little jet at the beginning was the best match. I always change the picture. Maybe that's closer. I don't know. What do you think? That's fine. We'll do the hobos. And channel sign we'll mess with later. And then we'll walk back out. Okay, so we have the Hawker Hunter. They're suggesting a 5-minute flight time, which sounds about right for a 3300 6S. Although I can't imagine a 6S or any S lasting any time on this plane because it's going to be so fast. You're going to want to go like 200 miles an hour like crazy the whole time you're flying.
Are we gonna have telemetry on this receiver?
Not really. It's just limited telemetry. We'll have telemetry in terms of the voltage or the voltage of the receiver.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll go to aileron. We'll switch it to F. From 0, we'll set the expo rate to 10. Then on the middle setting, we'll go to 20. And then we'll go to like 30. and we'll drop the rate down to 90. Then we'll go from aileron to elevator. We'll switch it here to 10. Then we'll do 20, and you'll notice there's a pattern here. Whoops. There's 30, and we'll scroll that down to 90. So basically, this is where we start. We double our expo. Well, we don't quite double our expo, and we half our expo, but we essentially double it because we drop the rates too. Okay, and then we go to rudder, we scroll down, we select switch F. You'll notice they're all assigned to the same switch as well, which is really handy because when you're flying a plane, especially on Maiden, you don't want to be searching for switches. Because there's one fail-safe method to crash a plane, and that is searching around for switches. Okay, and this is going to be kind of cool for me because I'm very used to Spectrum environment, and I know what I'm doing. Whereas when I'm into the DT9, for instance, I have trouble like going through the menus and stuff. Okay, so I'm going to set that to switch at H, and so you can see it's not doing anything when I move the stick, and then when I turn off the cut, it works. Okay, so that's working great. And let's go to our timer and set up the timer, 5 minutes. Start with a 1 out active. And then next we'll go to 1 minute. We'll change that to nothing. So inhibit. And then 20 seconds we'll inhibit. 10 seconds we'll voice. And then expiration will tone and vibrate. Tone and vibrate. And then every minute it'll tone. Okay, so that should do that. So now let's test that real quick. Throttle cuts on. Move the throttle stick up, it starts counting down, and then it keeps counting down because of the 1 out. When I cancel it, it stops. I brake 25% and it starts counting. So that's working. And then let's go into flap system real quick. Flap system is going to be inhibited by default, so I'm going to set it to switch B. I'm going to set, I don't know what these are going to be at all. So I'm just going to go like -30 and like +30, okay? And then I'm going to just do like correction of, you want it to be a lot so you can see it, okay? But you're not going to leave this stuff that way, okay? And then the deployment speed is going to be like 2 seconds, okay? And then you'll notice it goes back to normal. You got to set each of the switch positions to its time, which is weird. It's a new thing on the NX line that I don't remember seeing on the DX lineup, okay? So now that we have that all set, I'll set this to -100 +100. So that means it's gonna be all the way down and all the way up, and we'll leave it in the middle just to be on the safe side, and then we'll set this to like 30 and 15, okay? So we've got it in position 1 versus position 0 versus position 2. So when we start this, the control surface is gonna like rip off because it's in the center, okay? So now we can walk back out of that and we can go to, what else do we need? Oh, we don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So we'll walk out of this menu and then we'll go ahead and power off the transmitter. Okay. So now that that's turned off, we have our throttle hold on. We have our flaps in the middle system, or the middle setup. Now this is a safe select receiver. So when we bind this, we can bind this with safe select. So we'll go ahead and take advantage of that. I just have to grab a bind plug real quick. Do you have a bind plug over here? Did you see a bind plug with this plane? No, because it's plug and fly.
Right.
So they assume you're gonna get it with your receiver.
You usually have one on the back of your transmitter if you can't find one.
Yes, you're right. We
in your bag of
usually do.
stuff.
I have
I
lots
think-
of stuff.
You do?
Yes, lots of them.
I think they're in your drawer. I think they're in the drawer over there. These are all adapters. I don't see one.
Yeah, I thought I had one in there. Okay, so we'll pause and find it. We found a bind plug. So the bind procedure on a Spectrum receiver, an AR636B, first of all, you want to have it level with the plane, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to energize the circuit, then you're going to pull the bind plug out, and then you're going to do this, okay? So you power it up, and that's for safe select active, okay? Okay, so it's flashing. Now we're gonna pull this out. Now we're gonna press and hold this and turn this on. Binding. Bind complete. Okay, so now everything is sprung to life. Got to be careful about retracts, so I'm going to lift this up to be on the safe side. Okay, so first things first, let's try. Throttle cut is off. It's beeping at me, and that's usually not a good sign. Flaps are working. We need to probably rotate the direction of travel. The elevator is backward, the rudder is backward, the ailerons are correct, the elevator is incorrect, the rudder is correct, the throttle's beeping. So I don't know why that is yet. I'll find out here in a second. I'm gonna give a couple clicks down. Actually, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna turn the throttle hold off, throttle stick down, de-energize. Okay, so we're gonna let this sit for a second. We're gonna go ahead and turn off our receiver, or transmitter in this case. So it's off. Now we're gonna turn on the transmitter. We're gonna go back through the normal setup. This is gonna allow everything to start up from a normal boot. Throttle cut is off. Throttle stick is all the way up, 100%, okay? You can see that from monitor mode, it's a 98%, that's fine, okay? Then I'm gonna program the throttle range by doing this. Now it beeps. It's quiet ESC. Okay, it's armed. Oh man, that's gonna be crazy. Okay, hold on. I gotta show you this. You ready? No. Well, hold on, let's do this. That was like 25% throttle. Okay, so that's powerful. That's good. That makes me feel better, okay? This thing's gonna be fast. All right, let's run the retracts. Oh, that's cool. I like the way that looks. I hope they work good. This one doesn't like to go, it doesn't look like it's all the way out.
Is it supposed to be all the way out, or are they like, nope, it's definitely like in?
Yeah. Okay, so the flaps, that's fully out. That's like middle, and then that's fully up. Okay, so we need to change our range on that. That should be no big deal. The elevator is going backward, okay? See that? So that could be a bit of a problem because this is an AS3X receiver. That means that when I change the direction of travel here, that is gonna basically mean that this is gonna run the wrong direction, okay? So if that goes the right direction, then the AS3X is gonna work the right direction. If that goes the right direction, then the AS3X is gonna work the right direction, which it currently is. Roll left, roll right. Elevator up, elevator down, that's backward. Rudder left, rudder right, that's correct. Now let's check the gear, if I can open the gear. Okay, steerable nose gear, correct direction. So everything is working right with the exception of the elevator. So what are your options? Okay, throttle holds on and tested. So the options you have if you have an old receiver, okay, so first things first, you can see as I work to roll the plane, I'll just hold this like it's installed. Elevator up, elevator down, it's not, see, you can't see it. Rudder left, rudder right, okay, I can see it. It's going that way as I move the tail that way. I move that way, it goes that way. I move this way, it comes this way. I move up, it goes up. I move down, it goes down. Okay, I'm looking at the aileron. That means the AS3X is responding opposite to the environmental impact. I'm simulating wind, pushing the wing down, or pulling up the elevator. So when I go up like this, the elevator is pointing the nose down. So it's gonna exaggerate a dive that is induced from wind or just gravity, okay? So when I pull back on the stick, it goes the wrong direction. Now, I'll show you why we can't fix that without something drastic. Reverse. Watch. Now it's going to go the right way, but it's not gonna correct the right way, okay?
It's not?
Nope. Because look, the elevator is still gonna go down and it's still gonna go up. Still gonna go down, still gonna go up. Because that only changes this half of the equation, not that half of the output. Okay? So I'm gonna switch it back, just like that. Now it's going backward, but we're gonna make it right. Now the way you make that right is you either install a servo signal reverser, which we have and we'll use on this application, or you take this thing and you unplug it and you hook it up to your computer and you reprogram everything and you wish you didn't ever have to do that. So come around here. I'm just gonna show you this right now. We have to make an assignment for safe select, okay? So first things first, throttle holds on. Elevator's working, rudder's working, ailerons are working. So now, I wanna go over here to monitor mode. So one click over. Flaps are currently working, but they're a little bit weird right now. Gear are currently working. Although I'd like, no, that's correct. I wanna switch that. So I'm gonna switch the gear. So that means when I turn my plane on, it's gonna have the gear down, okay? Then when I go to take off, I'll put the gear up, and then I'll put them down when I'm coming in for final, okay? Then flaps, I think we need to look at flaps too, and then we'll do our safe select. Okay, because flaps are kind of, you know, they need to be, I hear them buzzing a lot, and I don't want to damage them in the meantime, okay? So they're split flaps, that's all the way down, that's all the way up. So now, we'll just go back into flap system and do this. So this is backward of what it should be in my case. Now I could either switch the full signal for the flaps, or I can just flip it here. So I'll just flip it here. Whoops. So that's gonna put them all the way up. And this is gonna put them all the way down. Okay. And with a 2-second deployment speed. So when I pull out the flaps to take off, there they go. And to landing, there's too much. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at where those are and I'm gonna back this off until it stops pulling on them. Now they're moving. That's all the way down. So you see how it's minus 35? So we have a little bit more range we could get out of them, but that's as good as we're gonna get. So I'll go to 30, okay? Then takeoff flaps are gonna be, you see how this says 100, then 0, then 30? So it's like plus 100, minus 100, okay? And in our case, we bottom out at minus 30. So between minus 30 and 100, so we have 130 worth of throw. So we're gonna make this about the middle. So instead of 0, that's gonna be like a positive value. See, I just want them to be barely deployed, let's say. So like 40, okay? So then you have a step from 100 to 40, which is 60, and then from 40 down to minus 30, which is 70. So we'll actually go, let's go 45, okay? So there you go. So there's your regular flying at full speed, takeoff flaps, landing flaps, okay? And then let's look, we're not even gonna look at the elevator yet because the elevator is going backward, but we can make our assignment for safe select now. So in monitor mode, you just go over one click, one click now. You can see what your channels are doing. I have retracts on this, I have flaps on this, and so I'm gonna use D for safe. Okay, so D is not assigned anything. C is not assigned anything. E is not assigned anything. So we're gonna make an assignment for switch D. So we'll click, we'll go down to servo setup, disconnect RF, that means that disconnects. Then we're gonna go down to channel sign. And I wanna go to next. So looks like auxiliary 2, auxiliary 3, flap. Okay, so aux 2 is set to 7. So I'm gonna go back to previous. And then that's B. Why is B set to, oh, you know what? Watch this, guys. I'm gonna show you this so you can know how to do it. See how it's moving auxiliary 2 and flaps? Okay, we wanna deassign switch B from auxiliary 2. That was our default, was set to B. We chose to use this for flaps, so we can deassign it from auxiliary 2. So we'll go back down to system setup, disconnect, scroll down to channel assign. We'll change D, and we'll just make it, we'll make B into D. And then watch this. Now when I go to monitor, watch this. D is independent of B. Okay? So channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we do have auxiliary 3 also hooked up, but we're not going to necessarily use that for anything at this point. So throttle holds on. Now we can make our assignment for safe select. So safe select is down and in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, I don't know exactly why it always seems to take more, but when you make your assignment, okay, so safe is on or off. My understanding is probably on right now. And you can tell because when you rotate this plane, it's gonna try to level the plane, okay? It's gonna try to bring it to the fastest route to level. So you bring it upside down, except my receiver's not mounted yet, so I have to kind of carefully do this. There we go. Okay, so it's trying to find the fastest route home. So when safe is off, watch this. Okay, so it's still acting like it's in safe, regardless of the state of that. So we're going to try this again. Down and in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it changed it this time. So now, with the receiver secured, safe should be on, and it is. Now I'm going to turn it off. Now it's off. See how it's just AS3X now? Safe is on, trying to auto level the plane, okay? So we got everything set up with the exception of, and I didn't even have to reverse that switch. I usually have to reverse that, so. All right, good deal. So the next thing we need to do is get a servo signal reverser, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is one of a many different styles of servo signal reversers. We'll link to those so you can find them. Basically, it just takes the pulse width modulation output and it reverses it. Okay, you can do the same thing by taking apart or reversing both of those servos. The easier way, if you were truly doing that, would be to reprogram this receiver, okay? Than actually tearing into 2 different servos that are already installed in a plane. That'd be a pain.
Yeah.
You could do it though. It's like if you have this plane and you have to have it and you're using an AR-636B that's from another plane and kind of a lot of different conditions all lined up. Okay, so this is just basically going to make it reverse the output all the time, regardless of our settings on our transmitter, okay? So now look, when I pitch the plane, okay, I'm going to hold that down. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. You see that? Up,
Right.
down.
So since it's doing that all the time, then AS3X corrects.
Pulls
correctly.
up, goes down.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now the correction from AS3X is correct.
Right.
And the output from mine is also correct. Remember, AS3X is like another pilot that's here. And then you are one pilot here. And you're telling it what you want it to do. And that pilot's like, well, as long as you tell me, I'll do it. But if this guy over here named Wind tells me to do it, or Mother Nature, then I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna fight it, you know, with all my might. Granted, there's limited amount of output that the AS3X can produce, just like there's limited number of output, you know, here. Okay, now that we reviewed Mother Nature. That's everything. This thing is ready to fly with the exception of figuring out exactly how to mount this stuff.
And are we gonna do decals on camera?
Maybe. I don't know. I think we need to look at this rat's nest, because this is a thing, guys. This is a thing. Okay.
Here's the thing.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm actually quite excited to see this thing, because that is a lot of power for a very small plane. This is dinky.
It's gonna film great. I'm excited.
Yeah, the yellow should look really good in the sky. That's not going to look so good in the sky.
No.
But this is going to look...
upside down the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Just fly upside down constantly. Look how long the thrust tube is. It's like from here to here. I don't know if that's good, bad, or ugly, but there's also this inherent like spoiler effect going on here.
We'll find out, I guess.
So hold on, I want to see if we're in safe. We're in safe. Okay. Yep, we're in safe. So I want safe off in that condition. So I'm going into reverse auxiliary 2. Okay. So safe is off now. But AS3X continues to work. So AS3X, you see the rudder? I'm gonna walk back here. I'm gonna move it that way and you're gonna see it point towards you. Ready? Now I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna go the other way. See how it points the other way? There needs to be a mechanical trim on that rudder too though. It's really bad. It's really bad. Whoa, look at that.
Is it?
Yeah.
I know, I mean, I can see it from here.
Super bad. Okay, so we gotta get a screwdriver for that. To be honest, we've seen that from other manufacturers.
Yeah.
Not just Dynam.
Nope.
I don't know. On a scale of 1 to 10,
This is like a.
this is like the best Dynam we've ever done.
I hope it.
And yet,
Slides
they
good.
still managed to leave no room for a receiver.
Who needs a receipt? Oh.
Yeah, you don't need a receiver that bad.
You just look at it.
Here's the thing.
Pretend.
If you were using, you can stay there. If you were using a receiver like this, you'd be totally fine, right? This is an AR620. It's a 6-channel receiver, gives you everything we're doing here with the exception of AS3X and safe. So basically not everything we're doing here. But this would give you all your receiver functions, and there's no antennas, no pesky antennas to deal with. Who needs antennas? Who wants to have that range anyway? Here's the thing. You put this in here, you might get away from yourself. So you gotta be a little bit careful when you're talking about receivers without antennas. If you fly a plane with a receiver that doesn't have antennas, your range is supposed to not be impacted, but I'm still not sure I even buy that. Sorry, Horizon. Or Spectrum in this case. Okay, so I'm just holding the nut and backing this off because I'd rather do that than take off the ball joint because that's just really hard to do without permanent damage, you know. Oh, they have Loctite on there. What the heck? Okay. What, did somebody get fired at Dynam or something? What's the deal? This is weird. Like, it's weirded out by all this awesome changes. Okay, so we gotta go like way a lot. Holy crap. We gotta go like tons.
Do you have enough throw?
I don't know if we have enough threads left. See, because eventually it's gonna want to protrude through the end there. We're pretty darn close. I think I might. That's about it right there.
That's a
Well,
lot
that's
better.
pretty much where it needs to be too, so I can live with that. Okay, so we'll see if this is magnetic. You guys hear the buzzing? It's not good, but it's nothing to write home about. I wouldn't worry about it. It's just, it's not good. Can you push that rudder toward me just a hair, camera crew? So I can get this thing in the hole.
Yes.
Just push the rudder over a little bit. A little more. A little more. A little more. Okay, thank you. Perfect.
Is that good?
You don't have to hold it anymore.
Okay.
I just had to drop the shaft through. Okay, so just tightening the shaft now. And we've got that pretty much where it needs to be. So now we can test that again with the, yeah, you know what? I went too far. Dang it. I went too far. Why didn't you tell me?
Did you?
Yeah, see? That's where it needs to
It
be.
moved to the left, I swear.
Did it really?
You did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because it was like almost perfect.
I think the camera crew is mistaken.
Never.
We're gonna try this again. So you guys see the problem, right? The
Yeah.
mechanical trim.
No, you're too far to the left.
Can you point at it with your painted fingernails?
Yep.
That's what we're lining up, folks.
Go. One turn.
So by the way, for those of you who are asking, hey Brian, I'm a new pilot. Should I get this plane? Probably not. It's not gonna be a new pilot sort of thing. I mean, unless you're into like blowing a bunch of money and crashing in 30 seconds, then you could get this plane just fine. But this is gonna be a fast plane.
Yeah.
Now, ask me again after the Maiden, and maybe I'll stand corrected, but I kinda doubt it. This thing's gonna be fast.
I don't think.
And split flaps are not, they're never as effective as a full operational flap.
I know you had your
Jeez, more.
turbojet at the beginning, and I don't remember you building that because we didn't film everything. But in my opinion, like Dynams aren't first planes just because you have to know how to put them together.
Yeah, plug and fly planes are a lot more effort. They're not that hard though. Oh, you know what it is? When I tighten that all the way,
Is it pulling?
I wonder if it's janking it down like that. Yep.
Yeah.
I got to bring it out. Got to bring it out
That's
just a
why
little
it
bit.
looked right.
Okay, so here we go. So now I think I got it right this time. Let's check. Now, if you guys hear that buzz and that hum of the servos running, the reason I say it's not good is because like it's like actually wear and tear on the motor, and it's also literally heating up the motor. It's still over. What the heck am I doing wrong?
Why did you go back when you said?
I mean, I can trim it, but I don't want to do it wrong. I want to do it right. Okay, so we'll pause and get this straight. Sorry, guys. All right, so just to be clear, we never did address the flaps elevator correction. So when we go into flap mode, flap system, we talked about minus or 15 and 30, okay? So what is this designed for? This is designed to, in tandem with the flaps, when the flaps come down on, imagine this is the front of the plane and you got the flaps come down, that changes the shape of the wing, the airfoil. So when you change the shape of the wing like this, that makes the tip of the nose, you know, it's allowed to go down without gaining as much speed, okay? It creates drag and it reduces the stall speed of the aircraft. There's two functions there. Now, thirdly, it also, the elevator correction helps to avoid what happens naturally, which is a ballooning effect. So the plane, it's almost like deploying the elevator, like pulling back on the stick a little bit. And that plane, if you have an inboard flap, it's going to tend to make the nose lift. So that's why we correct with a well, in this case, it's a 15% or a 30% correction, okay? So it's gonna drop that elevator down. That's gonna help with the balloon. And that's gonna drop it down more, and that's gonna help with the balloon. The reason I did just 15 was a guess. It might be minus 15 on some planes, okay? So in my case, I'm gonna make it like 8 and like 12, okay? Now, why not 8 and 16? Well, because I found that the takeoff flaps need a little bit bigger step of elevator correction, and the landing flaps need a little bit less because you've already got some to start with, okay? I don't know why it is, it's just a guess. That's where I'm gonna start. 0 for normal flight, 8 down for takeoff, and then 12 down for landing, okay? So everything is set, safe select has been assigned, everything on this plane is done with the exception of figuring out where this transmitter is gonna go. We have all our mechanical trims adjusted. On our elevators, they looked good. The ailerons looked good. The flaps looked okay. I'm not really sure if they're, I think if we wanted to, we could probably get those flaps. We could probably get those flaps to like push all the way tight. So that's something you might wanna look at too real quick while we're actually talking about flaps. Okay, so hopefully this battery doesn't fall out on me. Oh, that wasn't too bad. Okay, so let's look at this for a second together. You see how these flaps are pushed back like this? We have tons more deployment this direction, but then this mechanism can only go so far. Now, why does it only go so far? Because we bind up on itself, okay? So if you want to get more deflection on your flaps, it's possible that, yeah, I think it's just that's all the more you're going to get because then they run into their own. See how there's a gap there? The gap closes. See how it closes? Now it's tight, okay? So really what could happen is we could actually take this screw out, and we could push them tighter, like you could close this. But my inkling is that's close enough. It's probably not worth messing with. But if you had one that was like down a little bit all the time, and it went down too far, then you would want to take this off, pop this thing off. You know what, let's just do it. I'll just show you. We'll get a flat-bladed screwdriver to do this real quick. Actually, needle nose will work too for this. By the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, but we have nice LEDs. They seem to be pretty bright too. I don't know about like daytime bright, but they're
I
bright.
think it's just the nav lights on the wingtips.
Okay.
I haven't seen a white one anywhere.
Okay, so I broke that free. So that is gonna allow us to take this and unscrew it like 1/2 and 1 turn. I wanna keep it even, okay? Go to the outside hole, because there's no, I mean, you're not using the full throw on the servo, so there's no sense in going to the inside holes. Okay, so that's perfect. That should push that tight. I want it to push it tight.
It's better than the other one.
I think we can do more.
It's, yeah, probably one more would be,
Yeah,
because it's
one
about
more.
half the amount that the other one is.
Did I do, how much did I do?
One turn.
I did one
complete
full?
turn.
Okay.
Yes.
So I want to do one more full turn. Now I always talk about half turns and full turns. So that's half a turn and that's a full turn. So that's 2 full turns. So now that's pretty tight.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
That's good. I think we're there. So now we can, oh yeah, that's good. I like it. So now we'll do the same thing over here. Are you showing the kittens?
I haven't. See, even the kittens like the box.
They just like the boxes.
I know. This one likes your feet.
I know. Okay, so we've got this one unhooked. There's 1/2, 1, one more half, and 2. Okay. So now we should be able to slip that back. And that's gonna hold that nice and tight. Okay. Make sure it's lined up when you go to force that back in, or you will break the tip off. And then the crying starts.
Nobody wants
I need to be over there to do this. Okay. Sorry, camera crew. Hard for me to see if it's lined up, and it is. Ow, gosh. They shoot through sometimes. Like get shot through, like stabs you.
But that's a lot better.
Yeah, looks tons better. Okay, so now we try again. Take off flaps, landing flaps. Now I'm gonna go back into flap menu, and I'm gonna see if we can go any more now. Look. They're just binding now. You can hear the difference. Hey. Sorry, we had a cat attacking something.
Shocking.
Okay, so basically, I think 30 is the right place because I was at like 32 or so, and that's all the more we got. So I'm happy with that. Those are small flaps. I hope they're enough of what we need. And then I also noticed that there is a relief cut here, and I think that's just, I don't know if it's a detail that's true of the real plane or if it's just a functional thing that's supposed to make a gap here so that the aileron doesn't strike it. But if you look at the ailerons, they're not anywhere near hitting. So everything that we've seen so far says this plane is ready to go, with the exception of mounting the
That mess.
receiver. And I'm like really at a whip.
Are we looking
I'm
at
not
this?
sure. I'm not sure exactly how we're gonna do this because this is gonna be awkward. Looks messy.
Terrible.
I know. Now the other thing too is this receiver can technically be under the battery. I don't like that. And normally in a condition where you have a receiver that's programmed already, you can't really rotate it. Now this could be mounted to the side and then programmed as such. But in our case, if we rotate it to the side, then that means the elevator correction is gonna be wrong and the rudder correction is gonna be wrong. But you know how you can fix that? You switch your elevator and your rudder. You switch your channels and make your reassignment on your transmitter. And then the AS3X corresponds to that. So if you rotate it here, then basically what happens is you have to make some fancy reassignments. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna mount it flat.
Because I don't think that's going to buy us that much anyway.
What do you mean it's not gonna buy us
To
that
put
much?
it sideways.
No, I don't, man. There's a lot of room in the side here. See, I can get both fingers in there. There's quite a bit of room. So I think at this point, the next move needs to be to unplug the battery. Oh man, that is a lot of crap to deal with in there.
Yeah, it is.
And I haven't checked the CG yet. You know what?
Ooh.
Maybe we should just check the CG quick before we get too far ahead of ourselves. I'm gonna plug this in like we're gonna fly it.
We got to mark the CG.
I know.
$140 to $145 from the leading edge of the wing.
140 to 145.
Yep,
Okay. From the leading edge of where?
from like right
From
at
the
the edge.
right there.
The inlet?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Like
140
the front of the
to
inlet.
145?
Yep.
That's huge.
That is.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we can do that. Okay, so 140 to 145. Okay, so here's 140. So there's 140. So I have to imagine that spot. Of course, I'm gonna end up with a spot that's got a tiger stripe, and I'm trying to do it with. Remember, we want to. Jeez, that went way in there. Okay, so same thing here. So this is 140. Okay. That is so weird. How can that possibly be? Wait a second. How is that possible? You see this? Is that like in a different spot on this one?
No.
No. There's got to be something wrong about the way I'm doing this. Okay, so just so you guys know, these are the same as these. Okay? Right? Are they?
I don't know. Are they? That's what I was just
Yeah,
gonna ask.
they are. That's 140, I thought. So that should be the same as this. All right. That should be the same. Then 140, well, hold on. Let's go back to 140. I'm just going to confirm my theory. Okay, so I'm at 140. So there's that. Uh-oh. No, it's not the same. What the heck? I thought those things were supposed to be the same. Are they not the same? See, there's 0. There's 0. How is that not the same? Oh, you know what? It's because this is not the same as that. Dang it. All right, well, now we know. So 145. Okay, so there's 145. So I got to go with this edge. Okay. So that's 145. So that's 145 enough for me. And then from this edge to here, that's the back hole, okay, for the CG. Sorry, folks, I screwed that one up. Now we're going to go back to 140. Was I articulating that clear enough to see on camera?
Yeah, I think so. It was kind of confusing, but...
Okay, so this is the edge we're looking at, not this edge, right here. That seems about right, actually.
Yeah, that seems correct now.
Okay. Oh, we got lucky. We got lucky. Whew. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to actually just go ahead and, for a safeguard, because I had some ambiguity there, I want to measure to see if these are the same from a good reference point. So that's 77.12. Yeah, see, that's not 7. That's a lot more. That's like 84 from the edge there. I'm going to measure from here now. Could be a deviation. No, I can't reach with that. Let's try another method. We're going to pause and come back with a ruler. There's 140 right there. So I feel like we got that. Then 145. I feel like we got that. We're close. But I feel like these aren't the same, and that can cause problems. There's 140. Okay, so that hole's right, but then 145. I feel like 145 is... Okay. Should be back behind that. So like this measurement is the same. Okay, from the leading edge, that's 82. From the leading edge, that one's like 82, okay?
Okay.
So then the back hole is 90.8, and the back hole is not here. And then this front hole, from the leading edge, is 75 compared to that's not here. So crap, which one is it? So what we need to do is we need to remeasure each side and verify. Okay, so again, measuring from here, that is 142. That's 142. So this needs to be 140, which should be right in front of where our hole is. That's unfortunate, guys. Your wonderful RC reviewer screwed up big time there. Now we're going to go to 145, which we're at exactly. We're good on the back hole. Okay, so now 145 from the flat plane to the flat plane. We're right at 145 on the second hole. And on the first hole, we're right at 140
So
now.
it was just that
Yep.
very first hole that was
Yep.
back there too
The
far.
first hole was screwed up. And we knew that it was a little bit wonky. So sorry about that, guys. It's very important to get your center of gravity right, especially on a fast plane, especially a jet. If you have a slow, forgiving, high wing trainer, you're probably not even going to notice. Unless you get it way off, and then you're going to notice because it's going to crash.
Right.
But for us, we're getting pretty close to having sunset, and it looks like we can fly maybe. So I'm actually quite excited to get this done. That being said, I'm kind of looking at this receiver, and I'm thinking of doing something really dumb. Really dumb.
Oh, man.
I know. My camera crew loves it when I say things like that.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking this thing's going to be a bear cat to mount, like a bear cat. I don't know if a bear cat would be worse than like any other combination animal.
More like a bear or a cat?
That's kind of where I'm struggling.
Yeah.
So first things first, I have to charge this battery because it needs to be charged and ready. And we've been using it for setup, which was probably not a bad idea. Oh, and we never actually checked the CG. I just realized. So what we can do is we can take any 6S we have, preferably like the smallest 6S we have, which these are 4000s. These are 4000s. That's a 50C 4000. So let's try that. That would also be, except that's bigger. The 3200 is the smallest.
Not by much, right?
It's by a little bit, by 700 milliamps. 700 million, or that's 800 milliamp hours times 6 cells. Each cell has 800 milliamp hours more in each cell. Okay, so you see what's going on here? I got all this wire, I got all this crap here, and I don't know what to do with it. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna be a smart feller and not a fart smeller.
That's my other favorite thing you said.
Yes. I'm gonna basically use them all together like this. And I'm gonna fold all these wires into a big nasty bundle of delightfulness. Okay? And I'm gonna tie them up. Camera crew, any chance you can hold that momentarily?
Yep.
Okay, now I'm gonna go get some zip ties. The zip ties are gonna help us to keep everything contained, but they're not the end all cure all on this model. What this model needs is more room.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot more room, yeah. Because it's just like a lot going on in one little small tight space.
Mm-hmm. Got it?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, and then part of this, I don't know exactly how you get around having a big giant mess of wire on this plane. It's just kind of a lot of stuff going on. Okay. Right. Same thing here. You'd have a real easy time yanking one of those wires out, and then next thing you know, you got one elevator unplugged and not the other, so you'll roll to a spiral of death. But you know what? If you ask Ian, he says that a properly adjusted plane doesn't need an elevator.
No pesky elevators for Ian.
Nope, he does not need an elevator.
I wonder where Ian is.
I don't know. I haven't heard from him. Maybe he tested that in real life.
I wasn't very.
No, I mean, not like in a mean kind of way. I mean, maybe he just tested his theory and it didn't work out. But a properly trimmed model does not need an elevator, according to Ian. I think he was referring to sailplanes. So I will give him that credit. And by the way, Ian was a much, much more skilled pilot than I. So he probably could have done it without an elevator. There's so many of these connectors all in the same spot. I'm really struggling to get this zip tie to slide over in a proper orientation. I know you guys love watching my suffering, but this is really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a sneaky suspicion that if I do what I want to do on this model, it's going to end up being one of those self-inflicted wounds that we talk about on Dynams.
What are you wanting to do?
I don't know. You just have to stick around and see. Why? Are you concerned?
I am, yes.
You're concerned?
I am concerned.
I mean, it's not like this plane's going to be going like 100 miles an hour like 3 feet from our face.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
Except that maybe once or twice per flight.
As long as it stays 3 feet from my face.
Oh, and not 0?
Yes.
You don't want it to be 0 feet. Okay.
No.
I'm with you there. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So just to be clear, folks, we love making these reviews for you, and this was probably the best Dynam we've built in a long time. Camera crew.
What?
Why didn't you tell me about that?
Because I couldn't see it in the camera.
Well, maybe you should look around a little bit more and move the camera.
I was watching what you were doing and wondering how concerned I should be.
You were wondering
For the rest of my evening.
if you should duck now or duck later or both. Let's try this. Oh, it's beeping. It must be done with the 3300.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it only needed to be topped off.
Well, that's
I mean, I think we ran the throttle for what, like one little teeny tiny burst.
yeah, that's true.
So what I'm thinking about doing here is I'm thinking about actually having the receiver trapped in a weird spot so that it can be out of the way while we're loading the battery. I know, it's cringeworthy. It's probably against all aeronautical rules, but you know, I want to see if I can get it to work. And if I can't get it to work, then I obviously won't follow through with that. But my issue right now is basically there's so much crap in here, like I have nowhere to put it.
Right.
And I've run into this on a few different planes. The Viper Jet was one. You remember the Viper Jet? Or have you forgotten that already?
I must have. Is that the one we had to carve a bunch
Yeah.
out? No, I
Well,
do remember that.
we've had to do that on more than one plane. So
Yeah,
that's,
but like in recent.
well, it's been a while since
History.
we did that at the old house. It's been over
Viper
2
Jet?
years. Yeah.
Really?
We flew the Viper Jet a few times here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see here, now we've got this nice juicy bundle, okay? Now, this has to be pointing forward, okay? There's no getting around that. It can't be sideways. If it's sideways, then I have to flip the rudder and the elevator outputs, and then that would allow me to do that. And it would actually get out of the way mostly, okay? So it's a little bit tempting, but I think what I'm gonna do instead is I'm just gonna do this like really, really stupid halfway solution. And I might try to squeeze it in there like this. You know, and I just don't know if it's gonna be okay with being trapped like that. Or if it's gonna complain, you know? Like, is it gonna let me mount it like that?
Well, we know if it complains.
Well, I don't know, I'm not sure. Plus I'd like the battery down lower so that it's like, you know, not creating this weird high center of gravity, you know?
So if you have it all bundled up the way you do, could it sit on top of the battery?
Well, yeah, that's one thought I had too. That would keep the center of gravity lower. But I'm thinking about like putting it here and then essentially, you know, that becomes like its own mounting point, you know?
Right.
Then the battery just like literally sits on top of it, okay? Because like the battery wasn't exactly an ideal position anyway. It was a pain to get it in, but we had plenty of room to get it in. See, here's a 4000 6S, and it goes. See? It does not look that bad.
Is the top gonna go on?
Maybe.
Is that bump gonna matter?
I don't know. That's a good question, and that will probably answer our question. And look, we only have this one giant, huge connector doohickey. I know, I agree. Oh, geez. So I just want to check something real quick. Okay, so, yeah, so there's, yeah, that's not going to work. I had a sneaky suspicion it wasn't going to work, guys. I just had to verify it for myself. Every once in a while, you try something like that and it works and you're like, what the heck? So I just thought maybe we get lucky and have one of those moments. We did not. I actually, you know, I don't hate this solution. I don't hate it as much as not flying it because you can't mount the thing.
Right.
What I do think we need to do is probably grab a little bit of foam. I'll come right back with some 3M tape and we'll get that thing worked out. 3M tape, double-sided tape, okay. We're just gonna put it on the bottom of this receiver. And I know some of you guys are cringing at this solution, but I think it might actually work okay because then we're still strapping everything in. We still have it secured. We still have diversity antennae that are working for us. Ah, hate it when that 3M tape does that.
You made a pause so that it comes off instantly.
That would be smart, except no. Okay, there it goes. All right, so now I'm just gonna basically press that straight in the center of the wood. And you'll notice it's popped off already, almost immediately. That's because I don't know that I pressed hard enough to hold it in place. You do have to give it a pretty good stout press to get that stuff to activate. All right, so I'm pretty satisfied with the way that looks. Now the antenna is gonna go, it'd be nice to have them on both sides of the plane because there's already a diversity antenna there. Diversity antenna just means just two. Just think of it as two. Okay, so I've got that down. I'd like to maybe just tape that so I don't have to fight it. Let's tape it. You're fine for our camera crew.
Okay.
Ooh, the sun is setting deliciously.
Is the wind coming from?
No, not really. Oh man, that's way down there. That's hard to reach. Okay, so that's held down now. Again, all we're trying to do is just get that to stay put, okay? Then, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of this foam that came with the plane. What's going on?
There's a kitty under there.
Kitty under where?
On the chair.
Oh.
The first one. It's just poking its head out.
So you see this? Mm-hmm. Now we can use a little bit of this foam, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a knife.
And put it on top of the receiver?
No, we're not gonna put it on top of the receiver. We're gonna use the foam to make a pocket to hold the battery.
Oh.
Is the battery done charging?
Yes, it
it
beeped.
is. Okay, so this is a 3200 6S smart pack. This is a Gen 1 because it's got the balance leads. So now all I'm gonna basically do is just cut a little bit of foam. This is probably gonna cut really bad and be kind of messy, but that's okay because it's gonna work for what we're doing. See, all I wanna do is just give this battery somewhere to squish on top of. So it bears the load instead of the receiver. Yep, and it's gonna trap the receiver too. Now, if I wanted to cut this more effectively, oh, it's gonna make a huge mess. I would like to recommend using a hot blade for those of you that aren't up against the wire trying to get a video done. You see how that's coming apart? It's gonna be such a mess.
But if this works.
This will be fine. This should work fine. I don't know why it wouldn't. Okay.
It will only not work if we can't get the canopy on.
I believe we'll be able to get the canopy on just fine. Okay. So you see, all I'm doing is just taking slices.
Right.
Just slices of the packaging material. So I know for a fact you're gonna have this packaging material. And if you don't, I'm just shaking it off in the garbage to get rid of some of the pieces. Okay, so we'll do this here. And then that stops the battery from falling all the way down. And then like squishing things essentially, right? That's all, it's just holding things up.
Yep.
Then we'll drop this thing. We're gonna put it sideways because that's gonna give us the best crack at success to fitting. Okay, so that's down in there. So now and this is typical jet issues. The jet issue is getting the strap around the thing. Remember how I told you that I didn't think that thing moved?
Yeah.
Didn't it move ultimately at the end?
Did you just trap it with?
Maybe I trapped it
Foam?
with foam. Oh, you know what? I bet that's what I did. Yep, that's probably what I did. There we go. Now I should be able to adjust that in and out a little bit. There it goes. Okay, good deal. Jeez. Well, when it's going 100 miles an hour, 4 feet away from our head, we should get most of that
Pulling
out.
out of there.
Yeah. Okay, so that's in there. It's a nice, actually a fairly tight squeeze. I thought we had that on there before. And we
That's
probably
before it
did.
was sitting on top of the
You know what's good about
receiver.
this?
What?
Yours truly keeps everything.
Oh.
Yes.
This is gonna be one of those moments.
It's going to be one of those where I'm like, I told you I would use that piece of Velcro
So,
from
once-
1973.
So once every 10 years, you're hoarding.
Look at these
Somewhat
nice.
beneficial.
Oh, yeah, buddy. I wonder if I could pull this sucker through. Oh no, that ain't gonna pull through. Not even close. Because this is wider than the existing strap. So unless I cut it down, which I guess I could do that too. That's a really nice strap, actually. It might be worth the process of getting that slip through there.
But is it longer than the other one?
Yeah, it's longer. By a little bit. By a little bit, yeah. See?
Okay.
It's longer. I guarantee it's longer. I just don't necessarily guarantee I can get it through. So I think the smarter approach, given our circumstances, is to try to get this in there and then use a piece of Velcro that will connect between the two halves, like this. And hopefully I can just make a connection between the two. If I play my cards right, that'll work.
How much is that battery going to shift?
It doesn't have anywhere to go, but I don't want it to come out of the plane because that's a safety issue. If it crashes into me, I want the plane to help cushion the battery from hitting my head.
Okay.
Okay,
True.
that actually worked pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other thing too is we're going to be respecting timers, but we also have a voltage alarm that we can use because this is a Gen 1.
And you're gonna put it where?
I have a perfect hole to stick it in.
Oh.
Oh, it's happening right now. Look, watch this, guys. Beep, 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 beep. Okay, let's set that to 3.6. And we'll just, not good. It's pretty, yeah, I don't know. Maybe. That might not work.
So like I said.
No, it's gonna work though. There it is. It's in. But then I have this to deal with. Oh, jeez. When I'm wrong. Okay, so here we go, guys. This, you know, it's kind of reminds me of the way I pack our car. It's very full and things don't shift. And when my wife packs the car, it's not full and things shift everywhere.
Well, if you didn't drive our car like you flew EDF jets, things wouldn't shift around.
That's not an admission of guilt. All right, guys. So there's an opening there, so I think we're going to be okay. Yep, so we should be okay there. If I can just kind of pull that to the center. Guys, this plane is like, you got to be a packaging genius to get this thing together. Luckily, I'm not.
I was gonna say it's a good thing.
Oh my goodness.
You are.
Oh my goodness.
That is.
That is not going in there. Ooh, yeah. Oh boy. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
might cause a slight
Might be an issue.
issue.
Might be a minor detail that we have to work
Can
out.
you get that
Huh?
connector
The connector's not the problem. It's the battery.
actual battery?
Which, by the way, is 100 milliamp hours less per cell than recommended. And smart packs are small. Okay, so time for a hack. Hack and whack. So here we go, guys. We're just going to take a little bit of material out. I don't like it any more than you do, but that's what we're doing. Because I don't have any smaller batteries that will facilitate this. And we're going to be flying in like 5 minutes. We are.
It's about all the time we've got
Okay, so check this
on
out.
this setting.
I don't want to go any deeper than I have to because I want to keep and maintain the strength of this device. Okay? And I don't want to screw up the inside of the canopy where there's like a pilot sitting, but it's less critical than getting the canopy on. So if I do, then that's what happens. Oh, jeez. Yep, I knew I'd get into it. Son of a gun. That's all right. There's the pilot. See? Look. Well, it is what it is. I got to be able to get the battery in. I can do without this decoration. If I can't get a battery in there, what good is a plane, right?
Right.
All right, cross your fingers. You didn't cross hard enough. Oh, she's crossing. Okay, so time for a little bit more carving here. Oh man, I hate hacking up these things to make a battery fit. and yet I've had to do it numerous times. And by the way, this is inter manufacturer. This is not a Dynam thing. This is an RC thing.
Yeah.
Which is pretty frustrating because this pack is actually...
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so without further ado, we're gonna pause. We'll get outside and we'll fly this thing right now. All right, so we got the CG. Pretty much it is what it is. You can't add anything, you can't take anything away, and it's tail heavy right now. So I have a solution for that. It's a very simple solution, and it has to do with taking that weight out. Because this is a 3200 milliamp pack. If I had a bigger pack, maybe that would not be necessary. But I'm just gonna show you right now what I'm doing.
I don't know if we can get a bigger pack in there.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, there's no way you could get a bigger pack in there. Not even close.
Not unless you have a little teeny receiver and you can put it in somewhere else, maybe.
Well, but yeah, I suppose that's true. Okay, so now that we have that pulled, now we can just knock this weight out. Can you grab that, camera crew, by chance? Okay, get it. Pull it out of there carefully. I'm gonna tighten these screws. My concern is that's probably overdone it now by a long shot.
Do you want to check it? It doesn't really matter.
I do want to check it, but I don't know that I can. I think I'm gonna have to just tighten this first before I can even think about checking it. That's cool that there's a pocket back there, guys. I'm actually been really impressed with this plane. Like it's like everything that Dynam doesn't do, they did in this plane. Okay, so now CG check. As prescribed by the manual, we are still tail heavy. So give me the weight. Time to add some nose weight. Anybody who's been in radio controlled aviation for any period of time understands our struggle right now, which is we want to fly, we want to fly, we want to fly, and we're trying to be adults about it. And I just kind of suck at that. So you see this? That's stuffed in there. Watch this. Just gonna do it the easy way. That's a little bit too big. I'm gonna stuff that inside. I'm gonna put a little bit of foam on top of it, just like this. Okay, once I get the tape in there, I'm gonna hold that down with a big, thick piece of tape. And it's probably not gonna hold perfectly, but it'll hold good enough to see if the CG is enough. My guess is we're probably not enough, okay? Still tail heavy. Still tail heavy. We can't put a bigger battery in there. We could take this and move it further forward though. That's one way you can get it. You can get it to be less tail heavy. I don't know how far that goes. I'm gonna try to stuff it in there so it's as far forward as I can get it without significant mods. Okay. The other thing is I'm testing it against my own advice with the wheels up. Okay. So hopefully that's not a big problem for us. Okay, so the lead weight's now in there. I can get that out, by the way. It'll take a little bit of effort. 6,000 6S, excuse me, 3,200 6S. I don't know, I think we gotta go with it.
Okay.
We're going with it. It's just on the tail heavy side, just barely behind. If anything, we'll add more weight after we get the Maiden done. So guys, hopefully the Maiden went well. Check the link in the description. You can buy all the stuff you see in this channel and you'll be helping to support our channel. Give us a like if you like the video, subscribe and click the bell for notifications. You'll be helping us in the YouTube algorithm, but you'll mostly be helping us by coming back and watching more. Thanks for watching. YouTube, it's Brad Phillips. We got the Hawker Hunter by Dynam. We got all the cool ordnance on there. Cool split flaps on this plane. 70 millimeter 6S. Yes, 6S. 6S. 3200. It calls for a 3300. Good luck fitting that in there. By the way, we had some interesting challenges with the receiver. However, easiest build we've had from Dynam, I think, ever, maybe. So stick around if you want to see that after the Maiden. And we may put a crappy flight later, not sure. Retracts are actually good. They are sturdy. This is our second flight, full disclosure. This thing taxis really nice with the sun setting. We'll go ahead and do that right now. We've been trying some new audio gear, so hopefully it's holding up good. Takeoff flaps are deployed. Oh, we should show them this too. Yes. By the way, into the AM. Been working out good. Next, don't roll. Okay. Ailerons, elevator. That's on the high setting. The rudder, okay. On the middle setting, rudder. Elevator's at 35 instead of 20. And then ailerons are at 20. And then on the low setting, we're not gonna fly there, so I'm not even gonna worry about it. So when you look at the build video with the radio setup, note that we kicked up the elevator expo. Okay, that being said, taxi time. These retracts are nice and sturdy. They hold up well. Look how good that ground handles. This is a weird looking plane, looks like a salamander to me. The angles on the mains are okay, but look how sharp you can trim.
It's a Swiss livery. Yep. It should actually be like the Tiger Hunter.
Oh, did you see the dirt? Hey, this flies a lot better with that 30% expo, 35% expo on the elevator. AS3X in here today. You'll notice we're flying with our NX8 full throttle pass here. Need a little bit of down trim. You'll notice it's going up. I am full out. Okay, I got a little bit of trim in there. See the red and green? A little bit of roll. I'm gonna give it elevator, excuse me, a little bit of rudder to the left and a little bit of aileron to the left as well, because, oh yeah, that's feeling better, but still. Should not be a thrust angle on that, but there is evidently a little bit. A little bit more down elevator. There we go, lots more. Okay, we're feeling a little bit better now. Okay, here we go. You good? Mm-hmm. Oh, that looks so cool. Oh, yeah.
Too zoomed.
Huh?
Too zoomed.
That was a weird angle for me. Camera crew is doing a good job of holding still like I asked her on the last time we filmed this one. This is a pretty fast jet, so. And it'll go up, but you'll notice it runs out of juice, so you gotta be careful. Full throttle. We are noteworthy, slightly, like 1/8 of an inch tail heavy. That's so we can flare. Throttle pass again. Going all the way up. Rolling, because we're losing inertia. Don't worry about the beeping, that's all part of the show, folks. 5-minute flight timer is set, and we did okay the last time. We had higher winds. Okay, let's try slow pass. Takeoff flaps, are you doing zoomage?
Mm-hmm.
I'm riding the elevator a little bit here, but we did a lot of trim. Full landing flaps.
Okay, need a little bit less down correction. I would say we need, I think we did like 18 or 15.
So whatever it is, I want to go back by 30% on both.
Okay. Looks good up against that cloud. Or I mean, up against the sunset, rather. Okay, full throttle here. A little bit of rudder to kick the nose down.
There's your roll, guys. Pretty anemic, but it's okay. I mean, it wouldn't roll necessarily crazy fast. You know, life wings. Short wings with a high.
So we took the AS3X out of a crashed plane on an AR-636B. Still got a little bit of a spongy feel to it compared to
The more tight, crisp feeling we'd get from some of the More expensive planes we fly. Okay, takeoff flaps, landing flaps, and here come the gear. Feeling kind of wonky there. Gosh, I really wish I could adjust that. Looks good though. Oh, we have safe on this. Okay, here's safe, guys. Takeoff flaps are deployed. You'll notice it's trying to correct for me. Backing out of the menu here. We got 28 seconds left on the timer. We're not quite out of trim, so I think we're good. We're in safe right now, which is just weird to show you that. There's out of throttle. Got takeoff flaps deployed. We're just gonna bring it in, see if we can land. I'm gonna come out of safe here. Out of safe, there's our timer. Gear coming down, flaps. That's a little bit too fast. Okay, camera crew.
Yep.
You good where you are?
Yeah.
I want to try from the other side if I can make it.
Okay.
I'm reserving power, folks. You see, I'm gonna go right over the top of this tree line just so you can see it. Takeoff flaps. Gear. Full landing flaps. Okay, watch out. Oh, man. Okay, guys, so I just crashed that. Here's what happened. I was coming along, and I accidentally closed the gear about right there. As a result, I came out here. You could hear it just like I could. Losing power, really bad maneuver. I had the landing. All I had to do was put it down, and I didn't. You can hear the beeping still probably. So anyway, we are a full minute over right now. We probably crashed at 5 minutes and 30 to 40 seconds, which is totally stupid. Major rookie mistake there, guys. I came in trying to land here because it's calm now. The reason I was favoring this landing direction was because the wind was actually kind of going this direction earlier. And I said, what am I doing? So I turned around and show them the windsock here. So I said, you know what? No big deal. We'll just go around. We'll be real conservative with our power. Come around. I had it almost made. Almost made, guys. It just happens sometimes like that. So actually not the plane's fault this time. That's 2 in a row. How many Dynams in a row is that we've crashed? Have we lost track of count?
Most of them.
Okay, so let's go look at the damage. If you want to pause it, we'll walk over there. Yeah, there's your problem. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one's not gonna survive. Okay, you know what's cool about this crash? You guys get to see the motor really close up and in person here.
Oh, nice. You know, it's actually not all that bad.
Look at that fan. Awesome. I'm gonna unplug this because I'm sick of listening to it beep. Cell 2's at 3.41, cell 3's at 3.6, cell 4's at 3.28, cell 5's at 3.34, cell 6 is at 3.67, and then all's at 20.8. Oh man, so annoying. Okay, couple things we can all learn from my screw up. First things first, when you're putting on your decals, I didn't even show it in the build. This white one's supposed to be on the top, okay? So I accidentally put the white one down here. You know, funny thing is this plane is not that bad. I could probably fix it fairly easy because all that needs to happen is that needs to get re-glued, okay? That would take care of that problem, okay? Then that thing needs to get re-glued, and then this just needs to get pulled together. Oh, it's a bummer. Such a pretty plane. It went together so nicely. Couple things to keep in mind on this plane. First of all, don't hold the crash against the plane. That was my fault.
It was flying pretty.
It was flying okay. The crash was nothing to do with the plane.
No.
That was mean to the pack, though. That was mean to the pack. We'll have to put this on the smart checker, the XBC 100, and see what they actually are. Those little voltage alarms. Did you grab that by chance?
Yeah, you handed it to me.
The voltage alarm, I think I have one of the cells is not counting right. So I have marked on there good. But what happens is people plug those in backward and it screws up the circuit. And I know who did it. So anyway, if you look at this, his name rhymes with Restaban.
This pack is warm, by the way.
You're welcome.
It's a little toasty.
I was gonna say, need
kinda
something
chilly
else
out
for him?
here.
There you go. Some coffee.
That's okay. Yeah, hilarious.
Yeah, I'm sure you got it. That one broke. It's all right. Totally submarine style. So, guys, I'm super bummed. Funny thing is, okay, couple things to note. One, the elevator is strangely weird on this plane. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you, it's spongy when you when you don't expect it to be, and yet it's overly touchy when you do expect it to be. And if you look at this, it's got ball joints and everything, and a 9-gram servo on either side. So I'm not sure if maybe this just isn't like stiff enough in our configuration, and maybe that's what's going on. You're supposed to glue the carbon fiber rod that joins those two. So maybe pay a little bit closer attention to that. I'm not sure if that was a problem that we caused. We actually did brace the nose too. So we did get a change in angle here. Okay, so just one thing that we did look at, just to communicate that. Secondly, I was just gonna mention this. When you know you're gonna crash, okay, which happens to everybody that flies these things, okay, except for the really good pilots that are also liars. Here's the thing, when you know you're gonna crash, you gotta get the plane in a safe spot. I knew I wasn't gonna make it back to the runway. And so I said, do I wanna crash into the house? Do I wanna crash into myself, my camera crew? Or do I wanna put it down in tall grass and maybe get really lucky? Because you may have noticed another plane land about in this exact spot. What was that plane? B-26. Dynam.
Yeah, that's what it was.
The Dynam B-26. So
That was
the plane's fault because the prop came off of that one. Okay, this one was my fault.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else can we learn from this experience?
But you were saying, make sure you're in a safe spot.
Make sure you're in a safe
Communicate
spot
with people around you.
I lost a plane, and this was one of my first really, really bad crashes that really helped to shape my experience with RC. And I had an Airbus A320, and I had literally spent like 60 to 65 hours putting in phenomenal lighting system on that thing. And I got out, it was about like this time of night, and I thought, you know, lighting, everything, we had nav lights, we had forward-facing lights, we had wing inspection lights, we had anti-crash beacons, we had all sorts of stuff. I mean, I probably added enough weight that was the undermining of that plane. Well, anyway, story time. I got out, and I got to the point where I said, uh-oh, I don't know what direction I'm going. I couldn't tell if I was going down, if I was going up, if I was going away, or if I was coming toward myself. And I knew I was about to lose power. And I said, I go that way and probably get it back, or I can go this way and make sure I don't hit somebody. And that was a painful first opportunity to do the right thing in that situation. And I ended up losing that plane. And it was almost to the point of crying like a baby. It was bad.
It was bad.
But you know what came of that? You know what came of that, YouTube? I didn't know at the time. But just a couple days later, when I begged the Chinese guy on an email, I said, I need the Airbus A330. I'm heartbroken because I just lost my 320. And you know what happened? He sent me the 330. Now, I'm not for free. I bought it. But the thing is, I got that plane, and the rest is history. So what I'm trying to teach you, because that's what we're about on RC, on Brian Phillips RC, it's not just like, hey, buy this, buy that. We do a lot of that, obviously. But really what we're here to do is we're here to bring you up in a way, if you're a new RC pilot, that you can have a crash like this and realize that it's not the end of the world, and then also realize that it happens to everybody that's learning and some people that have more experience that shouldn't be crashing, like me.
Well, and
also, we push the limits a little bit more.
we do. And I think it's important, like from my standpoint, I've flown with you for a long time, so I kind of know what you're kind of going to do. But when you have people that are flying with you, it's okay to give people directions and have them stand, you know, in certain spots, or be able to say, when I'm landing, don't talk, or whatever.
Yeah, that helps a lot when you're new.
You need to be able to give people those directions and not feel bad about it, because it's a safety thing.
And do it before.
Yeah.
Do it before. Always have your plan together. When we do these flights, people sometimes give us trouble because we fly on a short runway with a fast flying plane, because this is a fast plane. It's a little bit faster than this runway calls for. So not everybody is going to be able to land on an aircraft carrier. And, you know, not like me, for instance. But the reality is, when you get used to an environment, you're used to the light poles, you're used to this, you're used to that, you're used to where the field ends, and you're used to where the houses are off there 20 acres away. You kind of know your environment. You have to take all that into consideration and come up with a game plan. So the other thing you have to do when you're flying RC is you have to be very quick on your feet. Now that doesn't mean you're gonna crash like this, because you know, if you're quick enough on your feet, you won't crash. But really the most important step in flying radio controlled airplanes, and this is going from nothing to being a, you know, reasonable pilot that can fly most planes, is you have to be willing to accept that you made a mistake. You have to be willing to learn from it. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you will not make it in this hobby. You have to learn from your mistakes. Now, you don't have to learn from every mistake, but you're going to get where you want to be a lot quicker. The quicker you realize every time you make a mistake, you better learn something from it. And I'm talking about to your detriment. You know, you need to learn what went wrong, how you can avoid it in the future, and then do your very best to apply it. Now, sometimes that means flying in a different manner. Sometimes that means using a different pack size. Sometimes that means waiting for better conditions. Sometimes that means don't rush it because the sun's going to go down. You're not going to see. And you know what? Sometimes it's better to just be safe than sorry. And other times it's better to crash it in a fireball of glory. Now, that's for you to decide. I'm not going to sit here and be nanny and tell you what's right and wrong in your condition. Okay? That's for you to decide. Okay? That's what we're here, is we're here to help support you in the decisions that you make so that you can become a little bit better pilot with every crash, with every good, successful flight. And by the way, as a very big side note, you learn a lot more from crashing than you do from landing. Every time you stick a greasy landing, it feels amazing. And it will feel all the more amazing after you do something like this, okay? So now, this is a pretty decent plane. Is it as good as the F-16? No. That's pretty obvious. It's also a lot cheaper. So keep that in mind. Why do they have an XT60? I'm not sure. For a 6S configuration, that's a little bit small in my personal opinion. You can take that off. I'm doing adapters on planes like this because I never really know if they're going to survive. Now, the trouble with the Dynam planes that we've experienced is that they're very hard to build. They're frustrating. And then before you even get them in the air, you are pretty much just about done with them, okay? This plane was not that way at all. It went together really well, except for where we had to figure out where to put the receiver. You notice where the receiver is? This is just packaging, okay? So stick around, you can watch that. We have a little 3M tape holding this. Obviously, with a stabilized receiver, you need to have it mounted somewhere so that it can respond to the environment. And we used a servo signal reverser rather than going through the trouble of reprogramming this. And that was for only one control surface, and I think it was the rudder or the elevator.
Elevator.
It doesn't matter either way. It's one of the two. So there are ways to get around that. I wouldn't recommend them. If you can get those servo signal reversers for like 10 bucks for a pair, I mean, they're really cheap. It's almost like getting a servo extension cable. So we'll link to that so that you know where to buy one. You can get them from Horizon, you can get them from Amazon. It doesn't matter. I don't care where you buy them, okay? Our goal here is not to get you to buy this versus that. It's to help you make good decisions, okay? Like, you know, you see us not do. So that being said, guys, come back for more. This plane is actually pretty cool. It went together really well, like I said.
Really
I'm a little bit disappointed it's crashed. I'm also not surprised. I crashed this because I overshot my time, because I made a series of mistakes, which we've already outlined. But it also was not like an amazing flying plane, okay? The way we set up all the controls, one thing you could do differently than I did is you see how the elevator is in the outside-most hole? See that?
Yep.
You could even take that thing off and you could move that in one hole on your servo. That's going to give you more leverage and power to push the elevator, but it's not going to actually make the elevator move further. It's going to make it move less. That means maybe you can get away with, instead of the 35% expo, you can get away with 20% expo. And you'll get a little bit more precision on the elevator. Precision is important, okay? Because it gives you repeatability in controls. That's something that lacks from time to time on the Dynams, okay? As you know, on those control arms, when you go out further, you're gonna impact change. You're gonna move them further, right? But that does not make the servo any stronger, okay? If you've got, let's just say, 4 ounces of pressure applied to this while you're going 90 miles an hour in the air, well, whatever it is, 85 or 70 or whatever it is, then when you apply full up elevator, it may not have enough strength. It's just going to basically it's just going to try to get there and it's not going to get there, right? So it's going to fly wonky. So that might be one way you could get a little bit better precision out of your control surface. And you're like, but Brian, it moves less far. Not necessarily. If you overwhelm the circuit and the strength therein, it's not going to move. And you also notice one other thing that I noticed is that when I was pulling up, there was a little bit of a roll, and I gave it some rudder and some ailerons. The reason I did that was just strictly to save time. If you know for sure you're rolling, generally you want to do ailerons, okay? If you're rolling right, you want to give a little bit of left trim, and that should correct it, should stop the roll. Once it starts rolling the other way, you know you've gone too far and you can back it off a few clicks. But remember, to do that for a video, I mean, we don't want to take half the video to do that, okay? So a little bit of rudder, a little bit of aileron, and that pretty much splits the difference. It is hard to distinguish which one's going to roll your plane on this type of tail. I know that from experience because I've been experiencing that a lot. The Airbus A320, in fact, had that same scenario. So the one that I crashed that I just told you about a few minutes ago. So also look at the retracts. They got bent back a little bit, and those bogies can be straightened, and I have already done it once. The good news about this crash, I was telling you earlier, the good news is I really kind of like the Dynam FW190 because it's in a 1.2 meter size or 1.3 meter size, as opposed to a much larger competitive brand that's 1.5, okay? Larger, more expensive, better, but way more expensive, like triple the cost. These retracts would resolve my problem with that plane.
Yeah.
And then I could have a good plane out of a crashed plane, okay? Because to be honest with you, everybody has their taste, okay? This one was probably not one of my favorite looking planes, but it is really pretty, okay? If you're into RAF, you're gonna love this thing. If you're not into RAF, then you may not, who knows? I just think that it had enough issues on the flying performance that I'm not gonna necessarily go out of my way for it. If you love the way this plane looks, get it. It's not that expensive. We're gonna link to it in the description below. Also, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Don't even try to fly it on 4S. You probably won't even get off the ground. 6S is, I thought, oh wow, 6S is gonna go like 250 miles an hour because you see this long, slender thing with swept wings and everything. It's not really that fast. I don't understand why, I don't understand how, but it's not, okay? There you have it now. Okay, any other thoughts, camera crew?
Nope. I think it is what it is.
It is what it is. It's disappointing. The crash wasn't the plane's fault. It was, well, maybe it was a combination of the plane's fault / my fault. I would say it's mostly my fault, like 95% my fault, 5% the plane's fault. Yeah. I don't really think it's the plane's fault at all. I mean, I landed it the other day. I landed it and, you know, it was a bad landing then too.
Yeah.
But there is a certain thing to be said. When you have a plane that doesn't slow down with flaps, ooh, that's the other thing. These are split flaps. They're very cool. They're probably super scale. But here's the thing. I have never flown a plane, including 1.2 meter Horizon Hobby P39, okay? Split flaps on that plane. Never thought it flew near as good as its peers that had a full functioning flap. Like, for instance, the P51. Now, granted, very different planes. One's hugely popular and one is a little bit less popular. And, you know, just for comparison's sake, when you have a split flap, I've never had a split flap that is super duper effective. They produce more drag, and I feel like they produce a little bit less like lowering the stall speed, okay? That's probably just in my head, guys. You can beat me up if you want in the comments below, but the truth is, I've never really felt like they work that great. And by the way, I have done a lot of split flaps on my own planes, and even in those conditions, what I do is I make them a lot bigger, like double the size, and I make those things barn doors. They come straight down, you know? So
this was a good build.
it was a very good build. It was very simple, went very straightforward.
Everybody's going to have their own receiver that they use and their own opinion on placement and stuff. So that was really just like our thing as we were going through. Sure. But the actual build itself, there's not a lot of pieces. There's 4 screws.
However,
and they
if you
went in the hole.
If you did an AR631, you could do forward programming on the NX8, NX10, NX6, whatever it is you're using the IX lineup, and you could get way more precision on your settings without the trouble of hooking up to a computer and totally resetting up this AR636B, which, again, like I said, came out of a crash plane. It didn't crash because of the receiver, obviously. That's one of those things you guys have to use your best judgment when you do crash a plane. So I felt like the AR636B did all right. Doing that one hole adjustment on the elevator would have helped with some of the oscillation. I didn't feel like we had oscillation today. I felt like in our windy flight, we had a bit of oscillation. Guys, that was a bad flight. We're not even gonna put it up. Okay, I don't want to bother you with it. This was a way better flight. It was nice and calm tonight. It was windy all day. We tried, you know, for like 3 days to get another flight, and we just couldn't get it. So this is what you're going to get. Dynam, please forgive me. Bitco Hobby, guys. They're good to their customers. They're good to us. If you want to buy this plane and support them, go for it. There's going to be a link below in the description, but also don't forget, if you scroll a little bit further down, there's other Bitco Hobby planes, maybe one you liked better. For instance, was it the DC-3? That was a great plane. It's on the link below. Okay, you can use the Spectrum receiver, your Spectrum radio, or you can get a ready to fly. I mean, they sell them ready to fly. It's called a Smart Ready to Fly, RTF, or they're Bind and Play, BNP, which is not what we had here because it would have come with one of their receivers, or you can get Plug and Play. They say PNP. So when we link to these things, we always link to those, and sometimes there's 2 liveries on a lot of the planes. I don't believe this one came in 2 liveries. I think it was just the one. So in the Hawker Hunter. So without further ado, guys, we really appreciate you coming back. If you want to stick around and watch us build this, it was probably, like I said, one of the smoothest. We'll have that immediately following this video. But don't forget to like and subscribe if you're into this sort of footage. We're sorry we crashed. Some of you guys seem to love it when we crash. So if that's the case, then, you know, eat your heart out.
Is this going to be the hawk killing zone now?
No. No, because this was just Brian shot the hawk down. So I would say no, this is definitely not the hawk killing zone. It's got to be a tree to be named after it.
Okay.
So, and plus that's one of the ways that we
bird.
distinguish where we're going.
Vampire's not a bird.
Yeah, right. What?
A vampire is not a bird.
The vampire?
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like a bird.
It's not a real thing.
Isn't a vampire like a
Like a flying, I don't know.
I don't know. It's a marsupial. It's a marsupial, isn't it?
No, a vampire is not real. Like Dracula?
Oh, a vampire.
That's what I know I was thinking too.
Sorry.
I was thinking it was a bird.
Oh,
That's why I said
man. Woo-wee.
it. Okay. It's too late
Well,
in the
maybe we
day.
shouldn't drink before these flights. Come back for more, guys, and we didn't drink before the flight. So, guys, if you like it, links below.